Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Octane Online Racing North American Sprint Series this evening, coming to you from the beautiful Laguna, Seca. Hello everybody, my name is Nick Amon, and I'd like to welcome you to this amazing stream that's on the correct channel this time. For those of you unaware, a couple of misclicks, a couple of panics here and there, and I ended up streaming on my personal Twitch page, but thankfully we are back and ready to go. So as is tradition, it'll be just me here in the booth for Blue Split, and then for Red Split, Chris Vining will not be joining us. He has had quite the busy day today, so after tonight's race he is going to be taking the day off. A well-deserved rest for him. However, we will be welcoming a new voice into the booth, and that will actually be Mr. Kevin Paradis, announced to us commentators last week during the bye week. So we'll see what he can do. I've checked out a bit of his stuff. I like his voice, I like what he does, so we'll see just how well we all mesh here together in the booth. But yes, we are here at Laguna Seca. I have been playing quite a lot of iRacing, and thankfully this track has come up. So I have gotten very used to how this track runs. Granted, it is with the MX-5s, but still a very good way to get sorted out with the track. Believe it or not, it's actually my dad's favorite track, so after driving on it a lot, I see why it is. But a quick look over at the points. It's currently Luke Southall leading the Blue Split Championship with 404 points. Behind him, Josh McKean, 381, and then Renato Dornelis, car number 3, in the third position with 368, and then it's Sean Piner, 315, and then Thomas Pierce, 252. So we've had a bit of a shuffle since the last race. We'll have to see just how things pan out here. It's currently Josh McKean, the man from across the pond, in first position overall here in free practice with a 1:21.672, and then Tanner Rogers, actually from Canada, a 1:21.962, and then it's Zach Patterson, a 22:047, which is actually tied by Renato Dornelis. So only two drivers managing to break through into the 21. So we'll see if that carries over into qualifying. Currently, it is rather cloudy here in the virtual California. When I joined the server, you know how you see the little weather that shows up? I did see rain, so I don't know if that's an indication of things yet to come, but I'm certainly hopeful that we'll see a little bit of weather tonight. Maybe the clouds bring a little bit of that moisture, kind of change the dynamic of Laguna Seca, especially when you get to the corkscrew. I mean, you just need all the grip possible to make that thing stick, and when you get liquid on the surface of the racetrack, it gets rather difficult. So we'll see if there is any inclement weather, and if there is, how do the drivers cope. Tonight's race will be a sprint, just a regular old sprint, so we will have the just the 1 hour for blue and for red, so we shouldn't be here too late into the evening. So we'll see if things turn up a little bit. I don't know if it's just me, but I have noticed that usually with these sprint races, drivers are much more willing to take risks. I think it's just because you have one shot to get it right, so you might as well try as best as you can. Last week with the Sprint Series or the Super Sprint, excuse me, at the Nürburgring, it was Luke Southall who picked up 75 points for himself in a win for that first race. And then I do not see the second race unless we lost it. Oh no, we didn't, just kidding. And he actually picked up first for the second race, so Luke Southall walked away 150 points richer, so a very good result from him. Joining him on the podium in race 1 was Josh McKean and Sean Piner, but for race 2 it was Kenneth Portis II, and then Timothy Flomger, 2 and 3. McKean goes to 4th, and I don't believe, I do not think Piner made it through. Piner made it to 16th, so Piner did not have the best evening, unfortunately, but That was 2 weeks ago. That was in Germany. We're here in the States. We're here at Laguna Seca, and the two Hondas coming together. That is Patterson and I believe Kenneth Portis. It looks like he just got dominoed a little bit. So definitely not the place you want to go off. I know that for an unfortunate fact. You know, even though I'm driving max maybe 80-ish, maybe 70-ish miles per hour in an MX-5, still can't help but almost dying. But thankfully, it's week 13 of that iRacing season, so apparently nothing matters. But we're not here to talk about that. We should be hopping into qualifying here in just a little bit. Shoutouts to the safety car for showing up. Got to give the lovely safety car a little bit of screen time. The one of the Porsches for one of the newer series that got added in one of the more recent updates. And speaking of updates, I would like to just draw attention to the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, the Endurance Series is still looking for possible last-minute teams. That'll begin in July, and then the registrations for Season 10 of the Sprint Series are open. As a reminder for those of you that might be new to all of this, there is absolutely zero entry fee into the Sprint Series. It is free of charge, and we operate in Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America. And for North American splits and European splits, and apparently it looks like Asia Pacific splits, it's going to be all Thursday. Although there is a possibility of Wednesday for the AP region if they get as many participants as they normally do. They are very, very active down there. Looks like we're having 7 rounds instead of 6, and then a maximum of 48 drivers per split. Now, not only will the Super Sprint and the Sprint be making a return, we'll actually have an extended race, which will be an hour and a half with 2 mandatory stops, and it looks like that will be August 18th at Spa. And I'm seeing some track. I'm not going to spoil it because you guys can check for yourself, but I see a couple of tracks that make me very excited, and I kind of want to go and drive them myself, but I kind of want to stay in the booth. But yes, if you're looking to join the Sprint Series and you've already gone through the rookie ringer, as I call it, then you are more than capable and more than open. Is that the word I'm looking for? All I know is that if you want to register, absolutely do it. You just click on the little registrations open box, and it'll send you over to a Google Doc or a Google form. All you got to do, fill that out, send it in, and just sit back and wait patiently, and we'll get to you at our earliest convenience. But here we go into qualifying for the first race of the evening. Everybody just looking to get out onto circuit, start getting their laps in, get those tires warmed up, get those brakes warmed up, more importantly. So I didn't catch who the first driver out was. I was too busy doing other things. I believe it could have been McNichol. No, it's not. He's actually going through the kink right now. Jonathan Clifford out on track. Zach Patterson might have actually... No, there's a Honda in front of him. Is it? Okay, so it's Kenneth Portis. So we're going to hop on board with Portis for Sausage Curb Racing, and he will be setting the benchmark here at Laguna Seca. So as you come down the front straight, it is full gas, every gear you can get. There's the 4-board and the 3-board. You're going to brake right about there. Make sure you really hook up the double apex. When you get it just right, it is one of the most satisfying things on this track. Absolutely amazing. This turn here, I have a lot of trouble with, so I won't even comment on it. I find that as you come up to the end of the curb there, just a slight lift, and you can try to get back on the power, but you may have to sort of stab at the throttle a little bit. That's what I always tend to do myself. You're braking at about the 2-board here for this turn. We kind of didn't see it too well because of the helicopter angle, but now we drive up towards the kink, kind of just lifting through and then getting right back on the gas, and then up to the corkscrew, the iconic corkscrew here. You're going to use that 2-board right there, shift down all those gears, and just try to get that exit as straight and narrow as you can. Slight lift here from Portis as you meet the apex here. Down towards the final one. Looking at about the 1 board, maybe 1 1/4. Back on the power. And then on the right side at the 2 board, shift down. Get the car tucked in there nice and neatly. And Kenneth Portis will be the first here across the line in qualifying. So it looks like a 1:22.477 will be the time to beat. And as I say that, it's Zach Patterson, the first driver to break into the 21s, a 1:21.955. Thomas Pierce, a 22.385. Chris Frizza, 23.572. Rona Mendina, 23.197. Dornelis with a 22.517. So lots of 7s here. Hopefully that's for good luck. Luke Southall putting it on provisional pole for Protocharge. A 21.555 for him. An excellent showing in this first opening lap. Josh McKean, the 22.197 coming out for him. Thomas Dagg, a 24.171. Brandon Walker, 737, and now we're getting all the laps in. McNichol, a 23.225. Clifford, 23.345. Flomger, a 31.057. And I believe that's Piner, P2. So it's right now, it's a Porsche 1-2. That's a 21.582. 3 drivers have broken that 21 barrier, and he's back into the pits, getting right back out there. Probably a very solid lap, trying to see if he can do anything better on it. We jump back to Luke Southwell as he's going down corkscrew right now. Currently about 4/10, 3/10 up on his previous best. This is where these tires and brakes really start to come into temperature, so these drivers absolutely will be getting the best possible performance out of their cars at this moment. As Luke Southwell finding his way through the final corner here and powering down the front straight, and he is going to cross the line right about now, and it's going to be a 21.28. So Luke Southwell trying to find all the time he can here in the Porsche, possibly breaking down the 21 barrier and into the upper 120s, although that is going to be quite the feat. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat that. Xu Chen currently 3/10 up on his personal best at 23.18, and he will cross the line. That's going to be a 22.9. Will keep him in 9th position for the time being. For right now, Ronan Mendina, excuse me, a 1:23.197, currently in P12, but according to the Delta, he is half a second up on himself. So if he can just stitch the rest of this run together, he's going to be looking at probably about a P10 start for the moment, unless somebody else can come across and yoink that P10 away from him. Currently it's Ryan Walker, P10 with that 22.747. But with Mendina here looking to get a 22.6, and actually Mendina gaining so much more time. He is 7/10 up on himself, 8/10 now as he comes down the final or the front straight once more. So this could be far more than P10, and it's actually going to be P7, a 22.374 for him. Very, very good. And we look around a little bit more on the field. Xu Chen still about 3/10 up. Brandon Walker right now, P20 in the Bentley for Madhouse Racing. He rounds the final corner. He is sitting in P20 with that 1:24.007. I don't think James Bond drove a Bentley, but I could be wrong. Across the line, he'll improve up to 18th, a 23.49. So for him, that's a good improvement. Take anything you can get at the moment. Hopping around, Thomas Dagg starting another lap here. So we'll check back on him in just a moment. Tommy Kogan getting bumped down to P20 with that 1:23.725. There is the belated birthday man, Mr. Mullick. Neil Alexander, happy birthday to you, my guy. Sorry again, I missed the party. I'll be there next year, don't you worry. Matt Powell, how you doing? Howdy. Sorry, I forgot the classic North American greeting. But yeah, solid start for a lot of these drivers. Tommy Kogan currently about 2/10 up on his personal best as he rounds this final corner, and if he can stitch this together, it looks like he will be sitting at P21, overtaking Thomas Dagg. So across the line he goes, and it's actually going to be P19, so he finds more time that I didn't even know existed. An excellent, excellent showing from him. Jonathan Clifford right now, P18, 23.365. He's running that Lamborghini 365 days of the year. Currently about half a second up on his personal best as he comes down the front straight once again, getting ready to start possibly 2 more laps, and he's up to P15, the 22.792. Coming out here from car 998, and as I said, he gets bumped down to P16. So a lot of shuffling in this mid to backfield. The front field is kind of just doing its own thing right now. Tanner Rogers sitting in P6, a 122 dead, and currently he is 2/10 up on his personal best, so this could potentially see him starting P3, so this would be a Porsche 1-2-3 start if things stay as they are. Across the line he goes, and yes, he does improve, so Porsche taking the top 3 spots here right at the start. Mullock, hope you had a great birthday. Matt, hope you're just doing well in general, as you do. Hope you guys are ready for some North American action, showing you guys how it's done. Right now, we look around. I don't believe anyone else is really on a massive outlap, although Patrick McNichol, a 123.175 P20, finds himself about 4/10 up on his personal best in the Scrubs Go Racing X Miami livery. That is, honestly, that is a very clean looking Porsche. I think I might be in love with it. Cody, good day, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Glad to have you here tonight for the North American Sprint Series. So Patrick McNichol makes it a P15 for the time being, a 122.697 for him. An excellent little drive, and now we start getting into the final 30 seconds. So a lot of these drivers who are getting ready to show up for one final lap. You see drivers in the pits right now. They are not going to be getting another chance at qualifying. For right now, though, it looks like Luke Southel's on a bit of a charge. He is currently 2/10 up, so we're going to keep an eye on him as Piner overtakes with a 121.257. But right now, Southel's getting a bit of traffic here, and that may have actually cost him that 120 barrier. We don't know. He's back up 2/10. This is going to be it for him. So as he crosses the line, he will take pole position, but he is 12 1,000ths or 13 1,000ths off of the 1:20 time. I think the Lexus he ran into in the final or the penultimate corner may have been his demise. We'll have to wait and see. Tanner Rogers, a little bit of a wiggle coming out of the corkscrew, and he is going to start losing some time here. Unfortunately, in front of him is the Mercedes of, not Philbin, Frederick Boisvert, as he is currently 0.4 up on his time, a 124.075. So if it's just the 0.4, he could be looking at a P25 start. It's actually going to be P23 for him. Very, very good time. Piner pulling into the pits. He knows that his lap is over and done with. Chris Vining makes it from P14 to P9 at the final buzzer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we hop into the final 3-minute countdown. Drivers getting up on the jacks, getting those adjustments, getting ready for their race here at Laguna Seca. This is the blue split, and after this we'll be hopping over for red. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Lucci and T-Mac. Glad you could join us here tonight. So what we're going to do real quick is just take a nice little look at the grid. And this is like my favorite part. I love doing this. Just popping open the, oh, right. I forgot they have ears. So it looks like the clouds have moved in. I don't know if this is a sign of things to come. We'll certainly see the crowds out in full force, as is tradition. So hopping down the grid here, it's a Porsche 123, and it's very, very good for them. And then Honda 4 and 5, a Bentley sneaking into the top 10, followed by Lamborghini, Audi, Ferrari, and Audi once again your top 10. The next 10 down going to be Audi, Lexus, Lamborghini, 2 BMWs. a Lamborghini once more, a Porsche, another Lambo, another Lexus, another Ferrari, an Audi, a Bentley, and then a Mercedes. Oh, actually, we're well past 20, but who cares? Lamborghini, Lexus, BMW, Aston Martin, the only one on the grid, and 2 BMWs to round out. And then, of course, the official Octane Online Racing safety car. Definitely a custom design. Definitely not one we took from the game, but who knows? Indeed, Cody, some very fast times here for the North American blue split. So now we're getting into just about the final minute, the final adjustments being made to these cars as these drivers get ready for an hour of action ahead of them. One mandatory pit stop here at Laguna Seca. That pit window will open and be open for quite a while. I believe it opens at about 10 minutes and then it's open for the next 45. So as long as you get your pit stop in before the final 5 minutes, you are good to go. Otherwise, you are going to be getting a penalty, which, I don't know about you guys, is a little less than ideal. But now we get to the final 30 seconds. Drivers will be able to hit drive and get into the race here. And once you do that, you just sit there and wait for everything to kick off. But here it is. It is the Porsche 123 followed by the Honda 4 and 5. What a showing from the German manufacturers to take basically the entire podium. And now we get to the final few seconds. So we will wait for the safety car to peel ahead. There she is, pulling out. Luke Southo getting a little bit antsy. And now everybody pulling away from their starting boxes, getting ready for what is to come. Currently 20 degrees Celsius on the track and 27 is your ambient temperature. So we'll see what these drivers can do in the coming laps. Indeed, guys, it is Porsche gang. VTEC power, Porsche versus VTEC. Clouds looking ominous. They're cumulus. You're correct. Who's the commentator? Hello, Tech. My name is Nick Amon. Glad to have you here. Normally, it is just me for this first race of the evening of Blue Split. No big deal for me. I can cope brilliantly. And normally, it'll be Mr. Chris Vining that joins us in the booth for Red Split. However, he has had quite the day ahead of him, or quite the day behind him, rather, and he is just deathly tired. So he's going to get through this race, and he will be getting the night off, something that he definitely deserves. And in his place will actually be a new face here for the Octane Online Racing commentary team. That is Kevin Paradis, joining us from the wonderful land of Canada. Paradis actually running a D&D group for his Twitch stream, so very good stuff. So the safety car now starting to pull away, so drivers have been told that it is time to get racing. Luke Southall will be leading the charge down into turn 1 with Piner in tow. Rogers, Patterson, Portis, McKean, Dornelis, Flomger, Vining, Knapp in your top 10. So as they round the final corner, everyone has been notified to get ready for the start. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is North America Blue Split, the Porsche 123 here at Laguna Seca. We've got an hour ahead of us for these drivers. And as they cross the timing line, it's green, green, green. As McKean trying to get a good run, but not quite. Down to turn 1 they go. We see 2, 3 wide. A little bit of a bump there on the Bentley, but drivers starting to get through turn 1 very, very nicely. A couple of trading paints here and there, but everybody just getting through this turn very, very nicely. A lot of 2x2 action. Some drivers getting a little bit onto the dirt, but nothing crazy going on here. So Southall going to be starting to pull away at the front, or actually no, Southall is somewhere. I don't know where Southall's gone. I think the timing sheet. Oh no, not the timing sheet again. But it's been an excellent start here for the Porsche crew. Southall up in the lead right now. Piner behind. Rogers, Patterson, McKean, Flomger, Portis, Knapp, Dornelis, and Smith actually picking up a position. So a very, very good start for all of these drivers. You look out the back of Southall's window and you just got this whole train of cars getting ready to go down through the corkscrew. So we are going to actually hop on board with that as you see 1, 2, 3 Porsches diving down. We hop back a little bit into the pack. The Hondas, the Audis, the Bentleys, the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the BMWs, everybody's getting through this corkscrew nicely. A lot of 2x2 action here in the background. Xu Chen having to deal with the fellow Lamborghini of Clifford, as we actually saw Mendina going a bit wide back there. So Mendina getting swallowed up by the pack a little bit, and that's going to give Frizza a chance to overtake down into the final corner. But for right now, it's Southwell still in the lead, followed by Piner and Rogers. The first Honda of Portis has actually been relegated to P7, so not the best start for him. Although Patterson holding strong there for the Japanese manufacturer. So job well done for a lot of these drivers, keeping things clean. We have Dornelis and Smith in the pits, however, so unfortunately these guys probably not getting the best start, and may have happened a lot later than the instant replay will allow me to go. But for right now, we stay here with Southwell leading his teammate through the kink. The Porsche doing very well here at this amazing California circuit. Down the corkscrew they go. See, some of these angles are just amazing. You gotta love it. But for right now, we are gonna be looking around the grid here a little bit. Looking at this little mid-pack that's starting to form with the BMW of Dan Good, currently with Xu Chen all over him. Jonathan Clifford and Patrick McNichol also looking to maybe get a piece of this should things go their way. You saw a little bit of damage there on the rear of this BMW, and even the front as well. So Dan Good not keeping his nose clean since the start of the race, unfortunately. Onto the front straight they go. Dan Good, he's got to worry about the Lamborghini, which will have a bit of a slipstream, although he is sticking to the inside, so trying to just cut off the options for Shen. But Shen's going to throw a move down the inside. There's a little bit of a bump, and that is going to send Good out wide. That's not good for him. That is going to be a move he will not be too pleased with, and he is going to end up losing another position, it looks like, to Clifford. So from 1 position loss to 2, definitely not what he was looking for. And now we get a little bit of a lull here as Dan Good having to deal with the Miami-themed Porsche of McNichol just behind. So early on in the race, still plenty of action to come. It's not even close to being over. A lot of these drivers, once they kind of get into that rhythm, once they get these tires and these brakes up to temperature, it's just going to be about banging out these laps, getting a move if you can, and just getting ready for usually the final, I'd say maybe 10 minutes, where everyone's just going insane, trying to just, if they need to make a little bit of a risky move, they're probably going to make it there. But for right now, it's more about just keeping your nose clean. And not only that, just keeping yourself from getting penalties. One of the big things we talk about in the Sprint Series, especially with these regular sprint races, is if you're gonna get a penalty, get it before your pit stop. Normally it's rare to see anything other than a time penalty, but if you do see something worse, that's usually a very big problem. But with these Sprint Series races, get the penalty before your pit stop. That way it just gets added on. Pit stops for tires and fuel, 30 seconds, and from there, if you have a penalty, it'll get added on. So say it's 10 seconds, you're looking at a 40-second pit stop. If you don't account for damage and maybe changing brakes and fixing your suspension a little bit, those will add time. But as long as you can try to keep it at about 30 seconds, you'll be good to go. One of the things that we also like to mention with these pit stops is, or is it no compulsory? I believe that's for the super sprints, where it is 2 races, unless tonight actually is, and I'm just losing my mind, which is definitely a possibility. But last time I checked, I was fairly certain it was 1 pit stop, if I can find the schedule, which apparently doesn't exist anymore. Sick. No mandatory stops for super sprints. Yeah, so it looks like we will have 1 mandatory stop for tires. Just tires, it doesn't have to be fuel. It could be whatever the driver needs. So, sorry, asking. No, that's totally fine, Tack. You had me second-guessing myself. But yeah, one compulsory pit stop, but there's no pit stop. Normally next to the names of those big green bars you see, it'll have the, what is it? The little one next to it means you have a compulsory pit stop. Should be a pit stop. The leaderboard is suggesting something has gone wrong. I wouldn't know. I'm a commentator. I don't do the back end stuff. I do the front end stuff. So ideally there is one compulsory pit stop for these drivers for these hour-long races. If it is the super sprint and you have those two 30-minute races, there's no compulsory pit stop. You just go start to finish. It's a full-on sprint. But yeah, for these 1 hour races, we're usually looking at one compulsory pit stop, but there must be something wrong with the scoreboard. I don't know. We'll have to see. Perhaps the race directors have gone onto the voice channel and said, hey guys, I know that the scoreboard's showing this. You still have a pit stop to do. We'll just have to wait and see. But with the pit stop comes the strategies. When do you pit? Do you try to go for an overcut? Do you try to go for an undercut? Even filling your car up with fuel. You know, the fueling takes the same, or it happens at the same time as the tire changes, so you don't have to worry about losing time if you want to go for like a full tank. So some drivers will underfill their car, so that way when they get into the pits, they can fill it just a little bit more just to get to the end of the race and then go from there. Me, I just sort of added the fuel and went from there, or sometimes I didn't, depending on what I was feeling that day. Sort of depends. This was a few seasons ago. But for right now, fastest lap belongs to Sean Piner with a 1:21.076, and Southwell a 1:21.635. Currently, Southwell's 2/10 up on his personal best, so he could be looking to possibly, or he will take this fastest lap as long as he keeps it neat and tidy. I don't know if the run onto the dirt there, you actually saw some of the dirt trails, so drivers going a little bit wide. So as Luke South will cross the line, will he pick up the fastest lap? No, yes, he will. So a 1:21.370 is the time to beat. Any rain incoming in the next 30 minutes? Not possible, but anything can change. The first penalty coming through here, Chris Vining, a 15-second for a collision caused on lap 1. So like I said, getting these penalties, obviously don't get them, but if you do get them, try to get them before your pit stop, so that way you're all set. Now again, I don't know if we're going to have a pit stop. I don't know if it's just a glitch with the system. Hopefully it is, and we'll get racing from here. But right now, it is Southwell and Piner sticking with that 1-2. Patterson, McKean 3 and 4, and Rogers getting demoted to P5, unfortunately, after probably some early race shenanigans. We hop back here. Thomas Dagg having to try to open up as much of a gap as he can to the fellow Lamborghini behind of Medina. Medina looking for a little bit of something here into the kink, but not finding it. Perhaps just showing his Lamborghini a little bit of psychological warfare here onto the Canadian. Or actually, this is the king, excuse me. I mixed up my corner, so now they head up the hill towards the corkscrew. Shen looks like he's getting a 5-second penalty that could be potentially a 10 here. Penalties are added manually, so we'll check in on that in just a second. For now, Thomas Dagg keeping things stitched together nicely for the 177 car. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Lamborghinis here tonight, and it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 Porsches. So a nice little mix here from the, or not mix, but just sort of dominance here from the Italian and the German manufacturers. And you have all these, you know, these BMWs and Mercedes and, you know, all these fun cars. We'll keep an eye on Dagg. Kevin Paradis, one of the newer members here of the OOR, is currently under attack from Frederick Boisvert. The two Canadians getting ready to do battle here. Down into turn 1 they go. The Mercedes driver not going to be looking for anything just yet. Perhaps biding his time, maybe looking to get something out of the corkscrews. We have a few more penalties coming through. Shen getting a 5-second for a collision on lap 1, so not as severe as Vining. We do not have the penalty confirmation for Quinn Smith. We'll keep an eye on that and get that going towards you guys as soon as the information comes through. But yeah, right now, Paradis trying to do his best to keep the other German automobile at bay. As they go through the kink, done nicely, except for Boisvert gets it a little bit incorrectly. And he'll run wide and lose some more time as Paradis getting a move around the Lamborghini. We're going to jump back a little bit here as they go up the hill. Oh, it looks like Mendina was actually running a bit slow. I don't know if he got loose out of the kink or what, but he does end up losing that place. So Paradis getting a little bit of space here, although Mendina fighting back. So now we go on to the front straight. I don't think Paradis got the best line out. So not only that, he's got to deal with the Mercedes, who has a little bit of a slipstream. We're going to go door to door here across the finish line. Only about a foot of space between them down into turn one. Paradis going to break a little early and just give that place up. Going to save the fight for later. So Boisvert picking that up from his fellow Canadian. For the time being, a few more penalties coming through. So it looks like Xu Chen actually gets a bit of a warning there just for a collision. Tommy Kogan, a 5-second for a collision on lap 1. Not what you want. Back up front to this little pack that's starting to form. We've got Tanner Rogers, Timothy Flomger, Kenneth Portis, and it looks like Brian Knappen all trying to get in on this. The Audi driver with the slipstream, he's going to pull out to the outside here, and he's going to make contact with the Porsche. He's going to keep it together, thankfully, is the number 49 car keeping it together. And now because of that bump, Flomger's got to worry about Portis catching up a little bit. Knappen as well, gaining some time here. Flomger just missing his break point, and even Walker's going to try to get in on this. Little battle here for P6. You can see Tanner Rogers, he's taking that bump and he's just getting out of town. He does not want anything to do with these guys. He was going to try to build that gap, maybe go for an undercut, go for an overcut. We do not really know here. But this little train starting to form between these four drivers. Just about, looks like a little bit more, a second or so between them. Into the corkscrew they go. The Honda picking up a little bit of steam there. Not close enough for a move quite yet. Down they go. Out the back window of Flomger's car. There's an Audi behind, but that Audi's going to be looking for his position. There are no friends here in the North American Sprint Series. There are no teams. It's just drivers. It's just themselves that they have to worry about. But it looks like Flomger finds his rhythm again and starts opening up that gap to the Honda. So we'll keep a very watchful eye on this. Looking back a little bit, Patrick McNichol and the Lexus of, I can't tell who that is. That may be a back marker, actually. And McNichol doesn't get the best run out of the corner, so that's actually going to give Frizza a chance to fire it down the inside. The Ferrari, all the horses under the hood in the stable, carrying the blue and yellow forward down into turn one. McNichol thought about a move down the inside, but the door closed right away, and now it is Brian Walker all over his rear bumper. So very, very interesting battles. A little bit of a wiggle there, catches it, and that'll give the black and purple Bentley a chance to catch up. And it looks like maybe even a better exit here out of the corner as they get ready to head up the hill towards the corkscrew. You can see that Bentley, she's certainly not the prettiest, but she can definitely be threatening, as Walker almost losing it into the corner as we get one of the worst camera angles I think I've ever seen. But I'm not working the in-game cameras per se. But up the hill they go into the corkscrew. See the Lexus ahead, and then Frizza, Nickel, Walker, down they go. I gotta say, it doesn't look that bad, but when you actually do it, it is downright terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, Flomger's got a Honda right up his tailpipe, not where he wants him. That gap to Rogers opening up to about 0.8 of a second. And then down to Portis is actually a little bit more than 0.2, but it must not feel like 0.2. It must feel like 2 millimeters with how close the Honda is behind. And it looks like these two are actually pulling a bit away from Knappen and Walker. So a couple little battles here, although they could get together here at some point and hopefully not bumpers interlocked, but maybe another little fight coming up. Portis just showing himself to the inside, telling Flomger that he is absolutely ready to throw that Honda should the door open at all. Flomger just trying to take the best line through. You see Rogers clipping through, and then it's just Flomger, Portis, Knapp, and Walker. A lot of these drivers getting themselves ready. But I don't think for now there'll be any position changes as we actually see Walker going a bit wide. He keeps it together, thankfully, although he will end up losing some time here to Knappen. But Flomger's starting to run away a little bit, so we'll see if this is sort of a yo-yo effect for him, where he gains time in a lap and then loses it, and then gains it and loses it, gains it and losing it. Hopefully he's more on the gaining side of things and can just keep it there and let these guys just fight amongst themselves, because that'll definitely lose some time and it'll give him a chance to pull away. Looking back, Chris Vining running with Carpenter and Shen. Carpenter at the moment in P16, Vining with that 15-second penalty over his head, and then Shen with a 5-second. So depending on how things pan out in the race, we may see some position changes, but for right now, nothing much to really worry about. Chris Frizza getting a little loose there, so we switch over to him. And still, the Porsche of McNichol and the Bentley of Walker getting close. Now, yes, we do have two Walkers, Brandon Walker and Ryan Walker. I'm going to go and assume that they are brothers. And if that's so, that's a kind of sibling rivalry we like to see. Tack, to answer your question, I am good old US of A baby. I know who I root for in these races, and that's everybody, because as a commentator, I have to be impartial. Oh, goodness. Right now, things starting to settle down across the board here. We've got some drivers coming in for the pits. Mike Evans is going to be one of them, so pitting on lap 12. We haven't gotten any indication that there is a pit stop. The pit window hasn't opened, so I'm assuming that a setting may have been ticked or had forgotten to have been ticked. So, unfortunately, we are gonna have to just figure it out. Chris Vining coming into the pits. He's got a bit of damage, so I'm guessing he's gonna go for tires, maybe clean up that bodywork a little bit, and then serve that 15-second, get back out there and try to get things sorted out before race end. Up and around the grid here, James Philbin going a little bit slow. May have gotten a little bit loose out of the corkscrew. We're going to actually hop back a little bit. So down the corkscrew he goes. Oh yeah, he just loses the back end a little bit. You can see just the change in the road. It kind of cambers towards you and then away from you, and that is somewhere you can easily lose the back end of pretty much any car. The Aston Martin, one of the safer cars to drive, the only car that's safer than it is the Bentley. So losing the tail end in the Aston Martin should just show you that, hey, even if you're driving one of the safer cars in this game, you are definitely at the mercy of the track should you look at her the wrong way. Austin Carpenter here, not really worrying too much about Shen. You know Shen has the pace, but he knows there's a 5-second penalty hanging over the Lamborghini driver's head as these two guys are going to pass up the pits. So looking back up, it's actually looking like Rogers pulling way ahead. Flomger as well, and Portis, unfortunately, Knappen having to deal with Walker, who's built about a second gap here, but things could be coming down here in the later stages of this race. Looking around a little bit, we've got Paul Kranich off from the land down under. Let's see, does the corkscrew claim her first victim? He gets through nicely and then makes the exit, and he gets a little bit onto the dirt there, just barely onto the dirt, and he does lose the tail end of his BMW, thankfully keeping it off the wall there, so he's able to just continue on with his life here at Laguna Seca. Once again, it's Flomger having to deal with Portis. Knappen's actually built up a bit of a lead to Walker. It's about a second and a quarter now. So this could be exactly what he needs. Just try to build up that space and catch up with the two drivers in front of him. And currently looking around the grid, there's a whole lot going on. A lot of these drivers, again, just getting into that rhythm, trying to get things going as we get lovely people. Mullick, if you're listening, please make me a mod so I can delete these bots. TYVM. But anyways, back to the race here. It looks like Flomger actually lost a little bit of time to Portis. Portis having to lift just a little bit so he can have a bit more of a window to work with that braking zone so he doesn't take out the Audi driver ahead of him. And as we saw him pick it up, he's fallen back a little bit. Hopping here, though, James Philbin with Renato Dornelis, a driver who normally we see at the front of the grid. He did have a bit of an accident on lap number 1 and had to go into the pits, so unfortunately he has had to sit there and wait. But as I say that, he gets a really good exit out of the corner as Philbin gets onto the dirt. So Renato Dornelis up to P24, so we'll see what he can do as this race develops. Around we go. Austin Carpenter just keeping Shen behind him for the most part. He's saying, hey man, you can get around me, that's great, but you're gonna have to work for it. Down to turn 1 they go. A little bit later on the brakes for Shen as they go wheel to wheel, and actually a little bit of contact there. So that is going to shake the Lexus out of line. So I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of talk on the radio. For right now, Philbin in the pits for him. Firelord, welcome. Yeah, join the stream and immediately bots. I'm not saying it's because of you, but it might be because of you. Hop back up. So currently, Flomger just barely keeping Portis. The delta here is looking at about, or not the delta, the gap looking at about half a second. It takes the little scoring column a bit of time to update. Classic Kuno's coding. So you guys have been at this little, I'd say they're more just treading water right now, just getting ready, gonna react with whatever move somebody makes, and that's actually Tanner Rogers. So Tanner Rogers was actually quite far ahead of Flomger. I'm guessing he may have just lost his car at some point. Thankfully saving it and not losing too much time, but having to drop all the way back into P7. So, you know, we've seen how quick these Porsches are. You saw a 1, 2, 3 for them at the start. Southwell and Pine are just doing their own thing right now. So we could see Rogers charging through the field here later on in this race. Currently hopping back a little bit, Dan Good in the BMW having to give way for a faster car. So after the little bit of contact lap 1, he is hurting unfortunately, so we'll see if he can pick anything up. Brandon Walker getting a 5-second penalty for being out of position on lap 1. So some of these drivers will unfortunately be out of position. It's very important just to make sure you're in the proper slot. You're behind the person you need to be in, or behind the person you need to be behind, excuse me. And, you know, just making sure you don't get a penalty as Habe and Kranich coming in for a pit stop. I'm sure that's definitely not, you know, compulsory, but we're going to pretend it's compulsory. Southwell still with the fastest lap of 21.370, so tires past their prime, so we'll see if there's a fastest lap change at the pit stop point for a lot of these drivers. Shen going into the pits, so he'll be getting that 5-second penalty added on to whatever he's doing right now. It could be tires, fuel, bodywork, we don't know exactly. We are not in an earlier build of the game that apparently showed all of the animations. Right now though, Brandon Walker having to keep Dag at bay. Walker with that 5-second penalty tacked on to his name at the moment. So should he go into the pits, that will be added on and thankfully removed. But for right now, where he's at, there really is not much of a chance to get the penalty removed. So looks like we're heading up towards the kink, and that he is going through, although gonna spit us back up front. Flomger he's keeping Portis at about 3/10 and just cannot get any, can't get any speed. Although it looks like Portis is actually using some of the slipstream to gain, and Flomger missing one of his turn-in points, and that's going to give Portis a chance to catch up. So Portis gaining about a 10th, and you can see Tanner Rogers in the background. He's pulling Knappen and Walker up to these two with him. He's saying, hey guys, I'm going to be your problem here in a bit, but I want these guys to also be your problem. And we'll see just what can happen later on should things go the way we think they're going. But for right now, it is pretty much just this this little pack here, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's giving us a lot of motion as Portis is going to pull alongside. You can't go too wide into the corkscrew, but they are going to go too wide into the corkscrew. This is incredible. Wheel to wheel. Down the inside is Portis, but Flomger going to have the inside line for the next set of turns here. And for right now, it's the Honda with an amazing launch out of the corner. And it's Portis picking up P5, pushing Flomger down to P6. That's giving Rogers and Knappen a chance. Knappen wheel to wheel here down into the final turn as we've got a few cars going into the pits. And what a move there from the Audi of Knappen, throwing it down the inside of the Porsche and picking up this P6. Rogers sitting in P7 right now. Flomger and Walker into the pits. They had enough of that battle. But, oh my goodness, that was absolutely insane. I don't know how often you're gonna go too wide down the corkscrew, but they made it work into that absolutely 100%. Take you a bow, both of you, and even the other drivers getting involved and giving us a little action. Absolutely incredible racing here at Laguna Seca for these North American drivers. Good morning, PJ. Glad to have you here. Hopefully you got to see that action. If not, hey, just rewind in about 60 seconds and you'll get to see some of the best that North America has to offer. So with these pit stops coming through, we're going to see some changes here. Zach Patterson, first the front runners to dive into the pit lane. So looks like he may be attempting a bit of an undercut onto Southwell and Piner later on. Tanner Rogers going into the pit. Same with Josh McKean. So Josh McKean staying behind him. Thomas Pierce as well diving into the pits for Audi. Patrick McNichol, it looks like he's getting into his pit lane possibly. You see Rogers and the Bentley of McKean stopping in the background. Now, does McNichol have a far pit lane or pit box? No, he does not. So McNichol getting back out there, getting back into the fray. Timothy Flomger right now. So he's done with his pit stop. And behind him is going to be the Porsche number 13 of Piner. So Piner lapping the Audi. Piner, though, yet to have pitted. So we will see if Piner goes into the pits here or if he stays out as we get ready to cross the halfway mark. And it looks like Tommy Kogan going into the pits for his stop. The 5-second penalty being given to him. Zach Patterson, the stop go 30. I'm sure that will get swapped over to just a regular time penalty, possibly speeding into the pit lane. Something that does happen. The new DLC is going to have American content, isn't it? Yep, one track has been confirmed. Correct, PJ. So yeah, I'm excited to see what it is. I believe it's going to be Coda. So we'll see just how things pan out for the community at large as things carry on. Right now, Dan Good having to deal with the Lamborghini of Shen, who has served his penalty, so he doesn't have to worry about much of anything other than getting around this BMW. Kogan ducking into the pit. Same with Clifford and Portis. So a lot of these drivers getting their pit stops here at about the halfway mark. Still 29 minutes to go here for North American Blue Split. And then after this, it will be... I've got to find him over here. It'll be... Oh my goodness, I can't find him. Kevin Paradis, who will be joining us in the pit lane, or in the pit lane, excuse me, in the commentary booth. New to the whole scene, still with that silver rating, so I don't know if he'll be getting it updated to either amateur, pro-am, or pro by the end of the season. There is still 1 week to go, and that is going to be, if memory serves, that'll be at Suzuka for the final race of the season. Oh, no calendar found, darn it. And that'll be a super sprint to send us off. For right now, yes, Kevin Paradis will be joining us here later tonight, replacing Chris Vining, who, again, earlier, as I said, has quite the day today, so he has absolutely deserved this break right now. We hop back, Josh McKean, with his fellow Bentley driver, Brandon Walker, excuse me, behind him. So the two Bentleys trying to do something, although... with Walker getting a little bit loose into the corner, he is going to give some time away, and that'll give Pierce a chance to catch up. Now, with that 5-second penalty, Pierce has a couple of options. He can either sit behind the 822 car and just get these laps out and know that he is going to pick up a place, as we saw the Lexus of, I believe that was Tommy Kogan, getting a little bit out of shape. But anywho... The play for Pierce is either just wait for Brandon Walker to just make a mistake and get a move done, or just stick behind him, get that 5-second penalty. But if he does that, Pierce could potentially not get more positions. So down the inside he's going to go, and a very clean textbook overtake for Pierce. Looks like he's going to go with the first option of just get around the man. Get around the man and get it going. So for right now... Pierce up into P10 as he overtakes Frizza, who is in the pit lane. And the sun starting to come out here in Cali, so maybe heating things up. I would assume this is California. It is just hot, period. There's really nothing else to it. As someone who has been to California, it is just hot all the time, and it's kind of sad. But for right now, no sadness here at Laguna Seca. Looks like the rain is going to stay away, unless that just cursed everybody, in which that case I apologize, especially to Red Split, who will be hopping over to greet here in just about 25 or so minutes. Behind, it's actually Jonathan Clifford with Tanner Rogers, so it looks like we may get 2 and 2 up through the corkscrew. Rogers later on the brakes, he's going to set it down the inside, and a very good move there from the Porsche driver, although 10-second penalty added to his name. If he hasn't pitted, then he'll be looking to get that sorted out soon enough. As far as I'm concerned, he hasn't gotten anything, although the bot we use to report on penalties has not updated. Walker into the pit, so he'll get 5 seconds added onto his time. And same with Paradis. So unless this 10-second penalty is for something that happened before his pit stop, this is going to be hurting him, because Roger started way up in front, and unfortunately has not had the best race so far. But again, anything can happen. Knappen coming to the pit, although Luke Saltho will be overtaking this this first place position. Still with that fastest lap, a 1:21.370. It doesn't look like Piner has been able to match that. And Luke Saltho going into P1 and starting a lap. So we'll see if at some point someone can crack that 20 or that 21 barrier and get into the 22s. But it's going to take one amazing lap to get it done. Dan Good still having to deal with Xu Chen, the American behind a Xu Chen, not letting the Briton get away. And then ahead of them is Thomas Dagg. So a little bit of a Lamborghini sandwich. I don't know how good it tastes, but if you've got some German meat in the middle, I'm assuming it's going to be incredibly good. Italian bread with some meat from the lovely country of Germany. You know what? I would probably have that. oh god, now I'm like wicked hungry. I have just doomed myself. Haven't eaten since this morning, but we don't talk about that. Kenneth Portis getting around the Audi of Flomger. We didn't quite see that, so we're going to hop back, actually. So this is down into the first turn, so a little bit of a switch move for the Honda driver. Does get on to the sausage curb and knocks the Audi out of place. So that is definitely going to be reported to the stewards. And Josh McKean, you actually saw getting a bit of a jump there and taking advantage of the situation as he passes a fellow Bentley. I believe that's Brandon Walker he got around. So for right now, Josh McKean sitting in P5, although, never mind, I was going to say Patterson with the 10-second penalty, but unfortunately, he is nowhere close to having that penalty give him any sort of advantage. Brandon Walker, though, having to deal with some faster drivers, getting the blue flag, getting told to move over, and it looks like he is going to do that potentially as he's letting these Audis through. There's a Mercedes and a Porsche behind him as well, so you do see this Mercedes of Boisvert. So Boisvert is actually racing with Walker right now. Walker having to deal with letting these faster cars through while also maintaining his position down into turn one. Oh, almost a tap there onto the 131, but thankfully nothing quite damaging there as Tanner Rogers getting through. So Rogers now having to get around the Bentley backmarker and catch it back up to Pierce, although that 10-second penalty looking quite dangerous in the coming laps. Chris Frizza with Luke Southall behind, so Southall is going to be looking to get around Frizza in the next coming laps based off of pace. Frizza's last lap a 23.7, Luke Southall's a 21.29, so that just goes to show you a bit of a skill gap between these two. And off to the side, Frizza goes. I don't think he's going to give the position. Yes, he is. Just pulling off the racing line and letting the Porsche through, letting him get on with his day. So Southall with quite the gap built up to Piner, and then Patterson a ways back. Ryan Walker not really close enough to take advantage of the time penalty, unfortunately. Unless something does happen, I think for right now he will be sitting rather comfortably in P4. But, you know, hopefully, you know, no one loses any back ends, no one loses anything too unfortunate. We'll just have to wait and see how things pan out as everything develops. Brandon Walker with Boisvert behind, so this is a little bit of a battle for P23 as Walker actually goes a bit wide. So that is going to give the Mercedes a bit of a chance to catch up. There is a bit of slipstream, more for Boisvert than there actually is for Walker. Walker a lot further back from the Porsche than the Mercedes is from him. So as they go through the kink, Boisvert just showing himself on the inside. A little bit of psychological warfare, and there it is. The psychological warfare paying off as Walker just losing it and going into the gravel. Thankfully, able to keep that car pointed in the right direction. Boisvert getting the blue flag here, as I believe that's Jonathan Clifford. Yes, it is. Who's going to be getting the overtake. There it is. Just move out of the way, let the faster car through, and get on with your day. But what an unfortunate set of events for the Bentley, as I talk about it being a safe car, and as I say that, it goes off. Tommy Kogan in desperate need of a waifu. Ladies, hit him up. Definitely single, ready to mingle, but he's got Ronan Medina looking to mingle a little bit here as these two head up towards the kink. The Audi trying to just get away from the charging bull as best it can. Up the hill they go towards the corkscrew. I don't think there's going to be much of a shot here for Medina, although if he goes from ascent from about 8 postcodes back, but not going to happen. Down the corkscrew they go. And this will be the battle for P20, so definitely keeping an eye on this, as it looks like the front runners kind of just out doing their own thing. Sean Piner actually 2/10 up on a personal best, or I guess I was wrong. So I have been lied to by the broadcast controller, but it's still Southo with fastest, a 1:21.29. So running very consistent times, this 21.4, 21.3s. So he is definitely in the groove at the moment. And he'll be looking to start on pole and finish from lights to flag. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, though, Quinn Smith having to deal with McNichol. So this is a P18 battle, but Quinn Smith, 10-second penalty. So, you know, if he hasn't gone into the pits yet, he might consider it at some point. McNichol, if he's taken his pit and Smith has taken his pit, then, well, there you go. Door to door, a little bit wide there for Smith. So this is going to be up towards the corkscrew on the inside for McNichol, and it looks like they are going to go 2x2 down the corkscrew. And a very, very solid overtake there for the Porsche driver. McNichol getting around Smith, P18. You saw there Smith just getting a little bit wide there through the kink, losing the time, and that'll give all the room McNichol needs to pick up the pieces. Luke Southall dealing with, or getting around a back marker. I thought maybe Piner had caught up, but I guess I was wrong. I hope I can find one of the bots to attack. So Portis does get a 10-second penalty for a collision caused on lap 26, so that is going to hurt him later on. Tommy Kogan trying to keep Rona Medina at bay. As a little bit of a switchback move, Medina down the inside there. It's going to be door-to-door here as they go down into the next few corners. Kogan will have the inside line a little bit later on the brakes. There's a slight tap there. Nothing to write home about. Medina going a bit wide, having to right that car. And they continue to go 2x2 here as they get ready to head down towards the climb up the hill. It's Medina on the inside, and it looks like he's not done yet. He's gonna break a little bit later, but unfortunately Kogan getting around him. So Kogan into the top 20 here. Medina getting bumped down, but it's not quite over just yet. Through the kink they go. Kogan's not going to get it as well. That's going to give Rona Medina a chance, and they're looking at 2x2 up towards the corkscrew. Rona Medina a little later on the brakes. He loses the Lamborghini for just a second, pulls it back in, and gets the move back done. So Medina holding on to everything he can. Kogan fighting back. These two are probably not going to be done with each other anytime soon. Hopping back up, Thomas Dagg still with these cars just pounding on the back door. McNichol going a little bit later on the brakes around the outside. This could work out beautifully, but for right now, it's not the case, and McNichol loses his Porsche. And Thomas Dagg going from worrying about his position to not having a care in the world. Oh, that is not what you want to see. Gonna send it back a little bit. It looks like McNichol may have just gotten a little bit too eager on the power and just spinning his Porsche one way and then another onto the dirt. All that work just slipping through his fingers. And now he's got to get a lot done in 15 minutes. Quinn Smith with the 10-second penalty. Currently about 7 seconds or 9 seconds now as things start getting updated through the broadcast controller. So if he can try to keep it relatively close, he should see a promotion to P18. But we'll just have to wait and see how things pan out for him later on in the race. Hopping back up a little higher. So a lot of these front runners kind of just doing their own thing right now. Maybe we'll be seeing some moves here as we enter the final 15 minutes for North American Blue Split. Hopping around, Dan Good doing quite good for himself. P15, but 10-second penalty, not what he wants. Thomas Dagg here just letting the faster cars through. You see Quinn Smith there in the back, but with that 10-second penalty, even if he gets around Dagg, he is going to have to find a way to open up a 10-second gap in the next 14.5 minutes. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that, if there's any sort of heroics from Quinn Smith. I can't be too certain. We'll have to just wait and see if he can get around the Lamborghini. As they go up towards the kink, both drivers getting it nicely. And he's looking for a move, maybe down the inside. It'll be Dag covering it off and just not going to let him through. He's going to waste as much of Smith's time as he can. And I do have to agree with you, PJ. The Porsches and the Hondas, incredibly fast here. And like you said, get a fast driver in them, and it's impossible to challenge. Luke Southall, a very good showing of just what you can do with the Porsche at Laguna Seca when you're a top driver. As his gap down to Piner is well past a time zone and a half. It is 10.1 seconds, so he has just been absolutely killing it. Starts on pole, lights go out, maintains that P1 through the first lap. He opened up a gap right as the first lap started, as other drivers were jostling for position, and he's just driven away with this. It has been an absolute masterclass of skill to watch, as it looks like Kogan getting around McNichol, so these two are not done. Gonna jump back actually to see the move that made this position change possible. Unless we missed it, which is also a possibility. No, so it looks like, oh, McNichol gets way too wide, and that'll actually give Kogan a chance to get around him. So again, these two drivers really just doing battle, and there's Kogan just pulling away from McNichol. Perhaps McNichol losing it through the kink. Like we said, that's a place where drivers just can lose it. Dan Good picking up a 10-second penalty for a collision on lap 29, so that'll get added on to his time at the end of the race, so we'll see where drivers end up. But these two right here, Kogan McNichol, have given us an absolutely amazing set of battles here as this race has gone on. Timothy Flomger currently running about 2/10 behind his fellow Audi driver of Knappen, as Knappen looks like he might get caught napping, or not Knappen, excuse me. It's Thomas Pierce and Timothy Flomger. So Flomger actually getting a terrible exit, and that'll give Thomas Pierce a bit of a chance to catch up as they go down into turn 1. Pierce not looking for a move just yet, although he is going to meet that double apex quite nicely, and he'll catch up just a little bit to Flomger. And as I say that, Flomger is starting to just open up a gap again. So this could also be a battle that could go back and forth for the final 11 minutes. Kenneth Portis now with Knappen behind. Knappen, apologies in advance for the terribly wrong call. Portis with that 10 seconds, so Knappen might just sit here and stick behind him for the rest of the race. He knows that McKean is probably long gone, so the odds of catching him are not too high. So maybe just stick behind the Honda, let the time expire, and grab that position at the last moment. Dan Good, Chris Frizza still just button heads a little bit. The 10-second penalty for the BMW will get added on at the end of the race. Frizza getting an excellent send there through the corner, and a little bit of a wiggle there for the BMW. So door to door here, and it looks like Dan Good just going to let him through. He knows that he is just going to be bleeding time down to Quinn Smith and potentially Thomas Dag. So taking the smart route of just letting Frizza through and dealing with the consequences later of his actions. Right now, Flomger still trying to find a way to get away from Pierce, and actually he does. So I think we just caught Pierce getting a little bit out of shape through the corner. Tommy Kogan, again, you can just see McNichol catching back up and actually getting onto the gravel. Keeps that Porsche pointed in the right direction. That was a very scary swing and a stellar save from him. These two guys just back and forth. You get ahead, build a gap, you lose the gap, and then you have to get a, try to defend. The other person gets around, builds their gap, loses their gap, and then you trade positions again, and it's just this back and forth and back and forth. Lap in and lap out. McNichol a little later on the brakes, so this might be the run here. Porsche trying to use all the power it can There's a bit of a slipstream, but I don't think he's quite close enough for a move. No, an almighty send would not do him too well. He's actually a bit later on the brakes here, so that'll bring him closer to the Audi as it goes a bit wide there. These two guys not done yet. See the BMW, I believe that's Kranich up ahead. So potentially a back marker throwing a wrench into the works here. As this race carries on, we are now within the final 10 minutes, so if drivers are close enough, they may start going for these very interesting moves. We may see some, I wouldn't say desperation lunges, but you know, if you're close enough and you see a door is open, I mean, who's going to stop you other than maybe the other car sitting in the way. Right now, Shen just doing some little door-to-door here with the number 13 of Biner, just giving us some nice little screenshots to throw to the people's way, just saying, hey, here you go, have some fun, enjoy. But nothing too crazy. Shen currently running P13 for Yeet Gaming. Piner in second with about 11 some odd seconds up to Southall. So we'll see what happens. Ryan Walker having to get around some of these back markers. And actually McKean is there in the picture. Now, it is Tommy Kogan who benefits from this because Walker catches up, obviously, to McNichol first, so he's got to get around him. And same with McKean. So McNichol losing time, although he may not have to worry as they start to catch up to the blue and green Audi ahead. So this could bring Kogan back to where he doesn't want to be. The angry Beamer looking to hunt down some prey. Just get her. It might be a back mark, but hey, getting around is getting around. As Thomas Dag, I don't know what happened to him. We're gonna roll it back a little bit. So this is up towards the corkscrew. So he just loses it on the exit of the corkscrew. Unfortunate for him. Thankfully, it looks like there wasn't too much damage, so he'll be able to get things back going. Definitely not what you want to do. The Lamb, definitely live it up to that name. Quite unfortunate, but that is just how the cookie crumbles. So we hop back up. So now Ryan Walker having to deal with McKean. This is the battle for P4. He's going to use every ounce of the BMW's power to try and pull away here. Remember when this new BMW was released, it was quite the powerhouse. And then Kuno said, all right, we're done doing the thing that every developer does where they release new content and it's broken, and then we're going to go in and fix it. But they've gotten around these back markers, and it looks like some more back marker action getting around Portis, and I think Knappen as well, getting around Thomas Dag. But ladies and gentlemen, 5.5 minutes to go here at Laguna Seca for North America Blue, and then they all hop on the planes and head on over to Japan. Unless I misread a calendar, but as far as I'm concerned, Suzuka will be the final race of the season for North American Sprint Series. So race is over, get everything packed up, hop on a flight, get over there. You've got a week to prepare. So we'll see if we can have a thrilling end to this season. Ronan Medina still with Quinn Smith behind him and Dan Good in front of him. So Ronan Medina will be picking up a position regardless. Frieza well ahead of Dan Good. So Frieza in a completely new, or no, sorry, I misread that. So Dan Good is 11, almost 12 seconds ahead of Medina. So unless he makes some sort of error, he will be keeping this position by quite a slim margin. Looking back up, Thomas Pierce and the Porsche of Rogers behind. 10-second penalty for Rogers. So, well, this is not really going to matter if he loses this position. He knows he can keep up with the 49 car. So if he does have to let him through, hey, just stick with him. You've got 4 minutes, and opening a 10-second gap in that amount of time is, well, nigh impossible for anybody, even myself. And I know that I am just the super pro sim driver. But for right now, we hop back up to Josh McKean and Walker. Again, just these two guys looking to maybe trade positions here. Again, this is the battle for P4. Bentley, not with the speed that this BMW has, but the benefit of the Bentley is a lot of curves you can just sort of eat. And I do mean eat. Because it is all kinds of hefty. Does not really care. Keeping it stable, although a little bit of a dip onto the gravel will scrub off a bit of time from McKean, and a rather sad exit will have him lose even more time. So Ryan Walker can breathe easy for right now. But we'll have to see if he can keep it going for another 2 minutes and 50 seconds. The only things really going on right now, drivers just getting ready to finish the last few laps. Luke Southall still with that fastest lap of 21.29, so it looks like we're probably going to be getting 2 more laps here. If I had to bet on it, maybe 1 more, depending on how quickly Southall can get through the latter sectors of this circuit. But he's just been doing what Luke Southall be doing week in and week out, and that's just get the car on the track, send it, don't really check your rear view that much, and, well, he has pulled out probably one of the most impressive gaps I think I've ever seen in motorsport. He is 11.7 seconds, so it looks like we are going to be getting 1 more lap here at Laguna Seca, and then we will be on to the final lap for the race. So Southall not done quite yet. He still has a bit of time to go here. Down into turn, the first turn he goes. Like we said, one of those turns, you get that first bit just right, and you're all set. We hop back. It's Walker. All that time he gained on McKean, or he gained from McKean, is now gone as McKean starting to get a little bit antsy here. They're going to be pulling onto this final lap, or penultimate lap rather, as McKean just shows his face down the inside, but not quite a move. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is onto the front straight for hopefully the last time for these guys. Or maybe second to last. Walker may have to hold on for 1 more lap. McKean trying to use the slipstream as best he can, but just cannot keep up with the BMW. It's almost like the BMW creates its own little slipstream for itself to use. Out of the corner they go. A much better exit for the BMW. Is this a move down the inside for McKean? No, it looks like McKean just backed out of that attempt. He knows that Southall somewhere must be getting ready for this final lap, and there is Southall crossing the line. So it is the final lap here at Laguna Seca for North American Blue Split. Thomas Pierce and Rogers and Flomger all joining together for their own little pack. They're getting ready to potentially start their final laps as well. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on this battle here for P8. But right now, it's currently the Walker-McKean show, as these two guys getting around the last few corners, getting ready to get their final lap started up. So we'll see if McKean gets a little bit brave. He pulls out to the right side. Later on the brakes, he might try to go for a bit of a pseudo switchback, but not quite. So here he goes, sitting with this BMW that's been in front of him for so long. There's a bit of a slipstream, but you can just see how easily this BMW can cope with the pressure. Down the inside, McKean goes. He's later on the brakes. There's a tap right there. And it's going to be Walker not giving up quite yet. He is not going to be too pleased about that hit. You can see his headlights actually reflecting off the rear bumper of the Bentley. He's saying, man, what are you doing? You pushed me out of the way. Give me my position back. I'm sure Walker currently on the radio with the stewards saying, hey, this guy just pushed me out of the way. You got to give him a penalty. He's got to give me the position back. Something. Luke Souther, though, in the meantime, picking up another win here. Sean Piner coming around the final corner with a 5-second penalty, but he's going to get to keep his position. And now Zach Patterson, who has a 17-second gap down to McKean, will be keeping his position. So your 1, 2, 3 are going to stay just as they are. Southall, Piner, Patterson. But I think the talk of the town is going to be McKean and Walker. That last lap lunge down the inside into turn 1 is definitely going to get looked at to see if McKean is going to be given a penalty or if that may have just been a racing incident. But the results, until confirmed, will be McKean and Walker 4 and 5. I'm sure Walker pulling off to the side. He may have some words for the Bentley driver, Kenneth Portis, across the line, P6, but he is going to lose that to Knappen. And Flomger will lose his position to Pierce. And looks like Rogers will lose out to Clifford. So it looks like Clifford may get promoted up to P10, potentially P9. And if that's the case, that'll be a very good result here for Clifford. And it actually does. So Clifford pulling out a P9. So a top 10 finish for him. A very, very great run for him. So we're going to check out the timetables here for the race. So overall, it's going to be Southall, Piner, Patterson. Your top 3. Pro-Am is Clifford, Frizza, Medina. Amateur is just Hobby by himself. And Silver going to be just Kevin Paradis. So now we are going to be hopping over to North American Red Split. The penalty for Piner was a 5-second for a collision on lap 41, but obviously that doesn't really matter because he's sitting in P2 and Patterson with P10. So even if Patterson was overtaking him, he still had more than enough time to work with. And then McKean, Walker, your top 5, although these two may be switching positions here in due time. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for North American Blue. We are going to hop over to North American Red, and on top of that, I'm going to restart my broadcaster app because that's just how it be. And we will be hopefully welcoming to the booth in a very short amount of time Mr. Kevin Paradis. So we'll see, get some insight from him, but a very good race for this North American Blue Split. We'll see if Red can do any better as we currently sit in the land of lovely practice. At the moment, it's Jonathan Geiger on top of the practice pole with a 23.060, and then it's Makuta Patier, who's now third with a 123.12, as Gulzar, one of the strongest drivers we've seen here in North America Red and just North American Sprint overall, with that 22.9. So there's still quite a lot of time for these guys for free practice, and ideally we hop into the qualifying in about 10 minutes. So we'll see what's going on here. Steve Davis joining us from Australia, currently sitting P4 in practice, a 123.365, and then Ben Keogh, P5, a 23.585, Brian Rasco, 23.752, and then Secombe with a 23.757, so 5 thousandths between the Bentley and the BMW. George Nunez, might be Jorge, actually. I might have been pronouncing that wrong the entire time. A 124.190 for the Mexican driver, and then Alan McIver with P9, a 24.9 flat. And then Craig Dale also joining us from Australia, currently P10 for himself with a 25.372. And then, of course, we have Tim Brook in the Bentley. Has yet to set a time. He was just doing his out lap, so he should be on a flying lap now. And wouldn't you know it, we've got L safety car, or perhaps we don't have L safety car. But for right now, it is Golzar on top with that 22.730. So it must have been, like we just did, pulling off to the side. Probably going to head back to the pits, make a few adjustments to the car, get back out there, and just see what he could do with this race. That's sort of the beauty of free practice. You just, head out there, make a setup, figure out where you're losing time, make a few adjustments, head back out there. Is it better? Is it worse? If it's better, cool, keep it. If it's worse, go back the other way. But we'll see what can get done here for North American Red. Currently, only 11 drivers. I'm sure the rest will be showing up soon. There's still plenty of time for everyone to get in. This looks like North America Blue getting their final briefing done. Let me just count everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's one person missing, and I'm going to figure out who it is. So McIver's here, Makuta Patier. Carpenter is sitting in the voice channel for North American Red, but not in the server at the moment, so I'm sure he's just getting things sorted out. But what a race we had for North America Blue. Really just showing up, showing out. A lot of great battles, a lot of bumping and nudging, so we'll see if things get swapped around, especially with that 4 and 5 driver, or the 4th and 5th drivers. We'll see what can happen if there's a penalty applied to McKean. But we'll have to wait and see what the final results are, which probably won't be out until maybe tomorrow or Saturday, if memory serves. So we'll have to wait and see. And everyone else with their penalties applied post-race, those are their official results. So it's really just up in the air as to whether McKean and Walker are going to be trading positions. After that last lap lunge we saw, that looked really, really good, and then there was contact, and then, we saw the headlights flashing from the BMW. So probably some bitter feelings for them. Ducky, hello. Glad to have you here. Hope all is well in your little corner of the world. We're just getting ready for North America Red to stretch their legs and start running. Still waiting on a few drivers. Also waiting on the newest member of the OOR broadcast team, Mr. Kevin Paradis, to join us. I'm sure he's just getting everything kind of sorted out and put away with the setup so he can be, here with the rest of us. But how you doing? Glad you could join us. If I haven't asked how your day is, not just you, Pete, or not just you, Ducky, but literally anybody, how is your day? Have you been good? Has life been good to you? Hopefully you're kicking back, relaxing, a nice drink, maybe some popcorn. I would certainly eat, but I would not do that during a broadcast because even though this is a volunteer thing, I try to be as professional as I can. Although maybe someday I'll do like a eating stream in the middle. Just of like, it's like, my pizza's here. Alright, ASMR stream? No, I would never do that to you guys. But yeah, right now, just 11 drivers in the server, and I believe there is 12 in the chat room. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have some drivers joining the voice channel, hopefully hopping into the race here soon. This is red split. I remembered to switch it. I don't know what you're talking about. Ahaha. I remember. But yes, this is North America red split. We had quite the race for blue. Sort of set the bar, so we'll have to see if anybody can beat that. Currently, though, Makuta Patier is sitting on top with a 122.335. Here in free practice, Golzar with a 22.730, and then Geiger a 23.060. So two drivers into the 22s, and Makuta Patier is the only person close enough to go for the sub 22 time. We'll have to wait and see, and then it's Steve Davis, or sorry, Secombe with the 23.347. Davis still with that 23.365. We got Ben Keogh here right now, currently about 3/10 down on his fastest. which is a 23.372. Brian Rasco, a 23.652. Nunez and MacGyver in the 24s. Nunez with that 24.190, and MacGyver still with that 24.900. And then it's Craig Dale with that 25.300. Tim Brook here getting out onto his, or one of his flying laps. It looks like his last lap invalidated for track limits. So a 129 would put him currently where he is in the standings for free practice times. But as he's coming around here, he goes a little bit wide. I don't know if that is going to invalidate his time as he rounds the final corner here. And we'll see where Mr. Brook sits at the end of this lap if he moves up. Yes, he does. A 24.515 for him, so it's P9. Pushing MacGyver and Dale down into the last two positions. As for right now, though, still waiting on a few people to show up, both here in the booth and on track. Hopefully that'll get sorted out soon. But if not, hey, we rockin' and we rollin'. Drivers do know when these... Oh boy, there's Tim Brook just pushing the Bentley a little too hard. We're gonna actually just hop back and take a peek as to what happened. So coming out of the... or coming out from under the bridge there, looks like he may have just lost it. No, he just gets right onto the gravel there a little bit, just straight on into the wall, and sparks it off to the side and dips out for the evening, or at least for the time being. But yeah, you can see drivers now, they're just starting to push the limits, trying to figure out where the edge is so they don't go over it. And everybody looks like just sort of happy with their setup, just waiting the timeout. Maybe using the little driver's room before the race. As the only people out on track is Hamza Golzar, Brian Rasco, Jorge Nunez, Alan MacGyver. Golzar was ahead of his personal best, but it looks like that has diminished. So Alan MacGyver currently about 0.3 up on himself as he heads around the corner. But ladies and gentlemen, for the first time here tonight, I would like to welcome to the booth Mr. Kevin Paradis. Kevin, how are you doing tonight?
I am well. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. We had quite the race there for North America Blue, all over the place. So, you know, seeing as you're new here, why don't you tell us about yourself?
My name's Kevin. I stream, of all things, Dungeons & Dragons 3 nights a week. But my hobby beside my hobby is sim racing, and I got into that with you guys. The rookie season was excellent, taught me a ton. My first race in sprints tonight could have taught me a ton more. But I'm very happy with my results tonight, and really happy to be doing this. Thanks for having me.
Of course. As I said earlier in the stream for other people, we did give Mr. Chris Vining the night off. He's had quite the day today, running around doing a lot of fun things. So he'll be very happy with this break. So Kevin, with the last race, you know, how did you feel about Laguna Seca? Is this a track that you're comfortable with? Is this a track you felt like you could have put a little bit more time into? You know, what's the deal?
Probably both of those. I love this track, and one of the reasons I love it is because I can never quite get it right. And that was absolutely true tonight. I'm 99% happy with how it went, but I love this track. The way it runs on the terrain rather than through it, it's a joy to drive.
I'd have to agree with that. I didn't play much of Laguna Seca until I got back into iRacing, and they had it for the MX-5s, and I'm like, sure, why not? And I realized how good the track is. So with this season of Sprint, the last race of the season, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be at Suzuka, right?
I believe so, yes.
So with that track, is that a track you've spent a lot of time on, or is that one of those things where it's like, after tonight's broadcast, I am going to I'm going to go to bed, and then I'm going to head in and just start banging out laps?
I'm fairly happy with my pace there, but you always want to get faster, right? You start recording, you start, like you said, probably not tonight, but tomorrow I'll start cutting time off of where I am now, and hopefully we can take a lot off. There's a lot to be taken off, apparently, if tonight was any show.
Well, I do certainly wish you the best of luck, but for right now, you get to hang up the helmet and the gloves, and you get to hop behind the mic. I have checked out your streams a little bit. I used to play a bit of D&D myself, but I just never had the time for it. I gotta say though, what you and your little group got going on, it seems like you all have done your homework.
It's a little different, yeah. We do everything a little different there, but the big thing there is same thing as here: is have fun, have fun, have fun. If the rules suffer over there, then the rules suffer, not the fun. You kind of have to follow the rules over here, but same thing. You know.
Kinda, he says. I'm assuming there's not as many race cars in your D&D campaigns.
On the D&D campaigns, no, but we had a spaceship race last week in a science fiction game, so, you know.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Pirate ship races, it's all happened, right? I mean,
Ooh.
when you don't have to pay for the film, you can make any movie you want. It just has to happen in your head.
Hey, Mullock, if you want to start up a new racing league, I'm sure Kevin's got you covered. Oh, that would be insane. But, yeah, for right now, it's Brian Rasco on provisional pole, a 24.582, and of course, as I open my mouth, it's Davis with that 23.827. So with about 6.5 to go, we'll see who can go where. We got some rain on the forecast, but I highly doubt it'll be a factor here, and if it does, that'll be very interesting. And if it does happen, qualifying is effectively over. You can't really qualify faster in the wet than you were on the dry.
Yeah, that game of going out right at the end and setting the lap on the prime track is not going to work if it rains on them.
No, definitely not. You know, even with all the water you can disperse from those wet tires, it's never ever going to be enough until the track dries and you're able to get back on slicks. Right now, Davis, that 23.827, Geiger getting himself nice and comfortable in P2. That 23.962, and Makuta Patier 23.987. Keo right here, P4 with the 24.24 for himself. Brooke, a 24.51. Rasco, 24.58. Nunez, a 24.82. And Dale with the 25.62. So Sacco, McIver, and Golzar. I'm surprised Golzar hasn't set a lap yet. Usually he's one of the first people to set a lap.
I've had the pleasure of racing with and being lapped by Golzar before. When he does get one out there, I'm sure it'll be quick. As I say, he takes us to 23.3.
And Geiger with the 23.3 as well, but here comes the rain, so it looks like this may be the end of qualifying, unfortunately. The track getting greasy, so if drivers have set a good time, well, they might just have to park it for the final 5 minutes. Sacco and McIver, though, we'll have a chance. Sacco up into P9 with that 25.195. So it's just McIver who has yet to set a time. So we'll see if he can pull ahead of Craig Dale. And then, well, I don't know if anyone else is really going to be able to set anything.
No, it looks like it's just enough to make it a little bit greasy, and that's all it's going to take to make sure nobody touches these times.
Have to agree with you on that one. McIver here getting ready to head up to the kink a little bit wide, so if he is unable to set a time, then he may just have to settle for hopping onto the wet tires and just setting something, if anything, maybe see if he can eke out Craig Dale a little bit for that top 10 spot. But for right now, with how the rain is coming down right now, and if everyone just parks it, we're going to be sitting here for a while, so we may have to make some fun up or something. Maybe you can show us some of those D&D skills.
Most of them are based on improv, but yeah, these guys, if it rains in the main race, this is going to get really, really interesting. I don't know anybody that puts in a lot of time practicing on a wet Laguna Seca. And with the vertical changes and what you have to do to your suspension to make the car work around here anyway, it'll be interesting if it gets wet.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was thinking about a few days ago before the race. I was like, well, if it rains at Laguna Seca, the last place you want it to rain is on top of the corkscrew, because sometimes you go through there and the car just wiggles a little bit on its own, and you're barely able to keep the thing together. But,
absolutely. there's that moment where the front of the car is starting to drop, and you're just waiting to see where exactly you're pointed.
Yeah. Am I pointed towards that tree you use as a marker to know where you're going to go? Are you going to face the wall on the inside? Are you facing the wall on the outside? Are you going to be facing back up the hill? Who knows? But especially with the rain, I mean, that's going to be just impossible almost. But, well, it looks like the rain has definitely put an early end to qualifying. Everyone just parking it up.
And now they get to sit around and watch the stress levels build, as you'd normally be distracted here, but now they don't get to be. They just get to watch the conditions fade away.
We'll see if that carries over. That was, we noticed in qualifying for your split, and even the start of the race, it was looking a little cloudy. We speculated whether or not there was going to be rain, but clouds eventually broke, the sun shined through. So we'll see if Red Splits is lucky. Although, unlike you guys, these boys are getting some of that sweet liquid sunshine.
You can call it that all you want in the marketing brochures. We all know it's raining. It's hard to drive in.
Unless you're driving the Bentley, then it's like super easy because it's a boat, and I don't know if you know this, but like boats and water kind of go together, so it's a bit of an advantage.
Well, as I said earlier, this is a very talented field. Calling any of these pro-ams or amateurs is stretching the definition from what I've seen them drive in the offline chat or offline channels. So watching them play in the rain could be, and will be if it rains, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll see if they can make a splash should the puddles form. Right now, though, it's, well, I shouldn't say right now, as if things are going to change. Jonathan Geiger on pole with the 123.315. Gulzar behind him with a 23.382. Makuta Padier 23.51. Davis the 23.827, and Rasco a 23.857. Your top five. Last race, it was pointed out and just reinforced that, you know, the Porsches and the Hondas, and this is by PJ, that the Porsches and the Hondas are incredibly quick here at Laguna Seca. I mean, Southall and Piner just sort of started and left everybody in the dust. But with Geiger and Makuta Padier in the Hondas, and then Nunez the only one in the Porsche, we'll see if those strengths can kind of amplify a driver's skill, or if, you know, maybe we were wrong, but it'll be interesting to see how Geiger and Makuta Padier play this.
I haven't watched a lot of these. Like I said, some of them I've raced with, but a lot of them I haven't seen before, and I'm stretching my mind to think if I've seen any of them race in the rain. Yeah, it's going to be, and never mind, bright and sunny.
Well, you never know. Things can change. It's bright and sunny, of course, but you never know. Sometimes things just don't work out the way you want them to go. So what we're going to do here real quick is just do a quick little run through the grid. If I can find my cursor. I lost it. Hello, cursor. I'd like you to exist. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I was gonna remove the overlay, but we rockin', we rollin'. So it is only 11 drivers here. Honda making it a 1-3. BMW a 2-4 for them. The Bentley getting split up by the Audi for 5, 6, and 7, and then it's Porsche, BMW, Aston Martin, and Nissan for 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then, of course, we have the patented Octane Online Racing safety car provided to us by Porsche this season. In Season Pass, it was the Jag. But, unfortunately, the Jag sitting in the garage. So we'll just have to see if the Porsche gets to stick around for the next season or if it gets replaced again.
Oh, there are so many options, though. Especially if we've got the rest of the list to work through. Audis, I don't know if this is my first season with the organization, so I don't know what you've done in the past, but there's all kinds of options. That Bentley would look good in that livery.
We have had a Bentley as the safety car. I forget what season it was. I think it was whenever I did Sprint. I think it might have been that. Could be wrong, but yeah, we have seen the Bentley used in the past. I believe a few seasons ago we had the Jag. I think we had a GT4 at one point, and I would like them to bring it back. Mullick, I know you're going to listen to this. Can you please make the KTM the safety car next season? Please, I want to see that. It's such a weird little car, but I want it.
That's an in real life thing, isn't it? Isn't typically the GT3 pace car a GT4, or at least the street variant thereof?
I don't actually know off the top of my head. It might be that. Ooh, I'd have to look that one up.
If not, we can lie. I mean, nobody will check.
No, someone's gonna check. someone's just gonna be like, I don't know if I believe them. I'm gonna double check on that. And it's like, all right, thanks. It'll be like the one person who has like all the knowledge of like GT racing.
Well, we are down to almost 10 seconds before they start here. Get the pace car out and get that full pace lap. When you're driving, do you find that pace lap helps or hinders your stress level? You feel better or worse at the end of it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say it kind of raises it a little, because, you know, going from, like, you know, open lobbies where you're doing, you know, a short formation lap, you know, you have the general stress that just comes with, you know, an open lobby. But in the OOR, I feel like when I was doing these pace laps, it was a lot more stressful, because it's an organized league. You know roughly where everyone's going to be at skill-wise, and it's also just usually the larger field sizes. So, you know, especially if you're like in the mid-pack, I think that's the most stressful place you can be. So yeah, I'd say the full safety lap, or the full pace car lap, excuse me. Hopefully I didn't just jinx anything. I find those are probably the most stressful times.
Yeah, tonight I found I fell behind and I had to go far too quick to get caught up to where I should be, and so it got me a little off my game, but I got where I was supposed to be before the start. I don't believe I've been penalized, so hopefully these guys can all get it right. I mean, they've done it enough times, they should.
You'd think so. We had a 5-second penalty get handed out the last race for Brandon Walker for being out of position at the start. So, you know, while there's not a huge penalty, it's still a penalty for being out of position. So yeah, hopefully these guys, I mean, there's only 11 of them, so they should be able to get everything squared away here, but we'll just have to wait and see.
First laps are always exciting, and as far as first corners go, the Andretti hairpin is probably in the top 5.
I would have to agree with that, although shoutouts to Blue for more or less making it through without any major accidents. I know we've seen some pretty huge pileups, especially in the Asia Pacific region in seasons past. I know Mullock has some very memeable sound bites that I may or may not have downloaded and used for my own usage, but we don't talk about that. But Kevin, do you want to call this race start, or do you just want to kick it back and chill for a little bit?
You know, to be honest, I'm still kind of coming down from the race. I will let the professional handle this, and I'll just watch for mayhem in the back, if you don't mind.
Professional. All right, fine. I will do the honors. So it's Geiger on pole. Golzar joining him on that front row. And then it's Makuta Patier, Davis, Rasco, Keogh, Brooke, Nunez, Sacombe, and Dale. And McIver, can't forget about him. Only 11 racers. But ladies and gentlemen, we're green here for the race here of Red Split down into the Andretti hairpin. A lot of 2x2 here. Not as many cars to worry about, but definitely a lot to worry as to whether or not you're going to be keeping the car clean. As we see 3 wide there. Bentley, BMW, and Audi getting a little bit crazy. And in the background, there it is. The Aston Martin and the Porsche of Nunez and Craig Dale, not starting in the best position for either of them, and now it is going to be in the back seat for this race. At the moment, though, currently Hamza Golzar starting to build a little bit of that gap up from these drivers behind as we head up towards the kink. And we're going to see if everybody can get through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, 8 cars getting through. No problem at all. So, to the hairpin we go. Is anybody going to get swirly? Doesn't quite seem like it. So, this first lap, besides that touch, has been pretty clean for most of these drivers.
And we're starting to see the Golzar gap as normal. The fight for second looks really good, though.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. You've got the two Hondas, two very powerful cars chasing down that new BMW. The BMW, despite getting that nerf, still showing a bit of its speed. So we'll have to see if Gulzar can make it work. Like you said, that Gulzar cap already opening up. And we'll see if these two Hondas can maybe have a little bit of teamwork, pull each other closer, and then maybe go for the double overtake at some point later on.
And then we've got a nice, as long a train as you can have, with 4 cars forming behind them from 4th back.
Yeah, you can see that. Brian Rasco sort of just in his own little world right now. He's not really close enough to get a slipstream from Bakuda Patier, and far enough ahead to not worry about Davis, although Davis having to worry about Keo, Brooke, and Seca even. So this is a little bit of a BMW sandwich. Don't know how good they taste, but I'm not really one to try. As long as there's Italian bread and German meat in the middle, I am golden.
Now you're making me hungry. I didn't get a chance for a snack before that.
That makes two of us. I haven't eaten since this morning because I went out to breakfast and I had a really filling breakfast, and then I was just like, oh, I'll eat before the broadcast, and then well, I didn't. So yeah, kind of just straight vibing right now. Probably eat
As
after.
I reach for my coffee, I feel that. But this second and third, looking to me like they might start to be working together. They decided they're faster if they don't fight, it looks like.
Yeah, you may be right. Even Brian Rasco might try to benefit from this. I know he's not as close to Bakuda Patier is to Geiger, but there's still probably some slipstream he can benefit from, and you can just see the slightly different line he's able to take just because of how stable and planted that Bentley can be, although it sort of opens back up. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the Honda duo to see if they can catch up to Gulzar, although Gulzar has opened up over a 3-second gap here, and it's going to take a lot for these two to catch up. I'm going to be completely honest.
I mean, fair is fair, but we've got some great racing as well. I mean, anybody who's seen the points knew that Gulzar is going to be at or near the front, but this race for second and the race for 4th right behind it is really keeping my interest.
Right there with you. I completely forgot to go over points. Currently Gulzar in the lead with 433, Steele with 368, and then Keo with 290. So there's a bit of a gap in all of the points, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see who can pick up points. A lot of the big names in Red Split not showing up tonight, unfortunately. So that'll give some of these lower ranked guys on the points ladder a chance to maybe catch up, maybe get a few overtakes on the point scale. But now these two Hondas really starting to build that gap. You can see Rasco just starting to fall behind.
And falling back into the grip of those behind them as well.
Absolutely. Davis getting his gap up to Keo from Seca, Brooke down to Dale. So Dale and Nunez, looks like we may have another little battle here for this P9. Like we saw at the beginning, they kind of just got together, spun each other around, and well, we'll find company within each other. Now, the Porsche, just very powerful here at Laguna Seca, and the Aston Martin, one of the biggest drawbacks of the car, despite it being one of the safest cars you can drive, is just the turbo lag out of corners, and that may just compound onto the issues, and we could see Nunez going for a move soon. And now we have the pit window. That reminds me, with your race, Kevin, we noticed that the mandatory stop counter was not active and there was no pit window. Were you told by the race director about this, or did it show up on your screens?
We found out about it and decided to have a go and work on the honor system while we were in the countdown. I think we were about 75 seconds away from race start when somebody said, you know, basically those bars are green, they're not orange. So there was some discussion about restarting, but then we would have had to redo qualifying. So it was agreed that everybody would work on the honor system. And wonderfully enough, with this organization, everybody did, as far as I know. Nobody tried to take advantage of it, and we had great races all the way through, just like they're having here, all the way to the back.
Okay, because that was the one thing I had noticed. I was rather confused. I'm like, hold on, that's not quite right. So, yeah, glad on the honor system. Here's Nunez with a neat little move down the inside of Dale. There's a little bit of contact, but thankfully, the second time of contact, there is no double spin. So Dale falling back to P10, Dale picking up the P9, but I don't think Dale is quite done yet.
We've just had a change of position in second. What looked like a docile train has turned into a passing maneuver.
Well, let's see if we can catch it on replay. Looks like we can, so Coutepatier, looks like just enough room. Geiger backed out, so yeah, nice little clean move, nothing about it. So maybe Coutepatier is going to be at the head of this duo, and he'll be the one that brings them up to the BMW of Golzar.
That is what is to be seen now, as if they can close the gap in this order. Behind him is spreading out a little bit, but I think that'll close up over time as people sort of start to get to that point where you make a few more mistakes.
Possibly. Anything can happen here. Golzar with, I know it says 4.6, but according to the controller, we're looking at about 5 or so seconds. So, you know, Golzar just absolutely doing what Golzar does best, which is get out there, get on pole, or at least close to it, and then get around to whoever's in front of you, and then from there just start hot lapping for the next, hour, half an hour, whatever it may be.
We've got an accident in third. I was just about to talk about Golzar, but no, let's talk about the crash instead.
All right, let's roll it back. What happened, Kevin?
It looks like they lost it all by themselves. They're just recovering now. Recovering into the other wall, as happens so often, and holding the brakes and waiting. But looks to me like they lost it all by themselves, trying a little too hard to get that position back.
Yeah, you saw those two left side tires just getting onto the gravel. Not much that could be done there. So it looks like there wasn't too much damage. Although, as I say that hood is popped on the Honda, so Geiger falling all the way down, just about, at the back of the grid. So Coutepatier now by himself. He's lost his brethren, so it's up to him to catch up to Golzar.
Well, that race is on, and at least from Geiger's point of view, the pit window is open, so if they choose, they can throw it in there this lap. And I don't know, that looks like a lot of damage to me. I'd be tempted to repair it, but I'm that guy that always repairs his damage.
Can't say that I'm also someone who will, repair the damage. Sometimes be like, yeah, it's fine, it'll be good. But Geiger not really taking his chances. I'm sure that Honda is a little difficult to drive. Let's see if we can get a shot of the steering wheel. Now, it looks like his steering is fine, so he'll just be pulling into the pits. So with this, I'm wondering if this is possibly early enough to where he can get a new set of tires and just get as much feel as he can, and then go to the end, and then maybe try to go for like the mother of all like undercuts, but we'll have to see.
Well, with the smaller field, there is the very good chance of them coming out in completely open track and just being able to attempt that, sort of 25 qualifying laps in a row.
That is definitely possible, and it also comes down to when do these other drivers pit. If they pit too soon, absolutely Geiger's going to overtake. If they pit too late, or not too late, but later, then Geiger may miss out. But the thing is that with the damage Geiger sustained, he could potentially be down maybe 2 or 3 laps to Dale. So he might just be down and out of this and have to settle for 10th.
It looks like they are 2 laps down. It also appears... Oh, that just went green. I was going to say it also appeared it didn't count as a pit stop, but the bar has just gone green, so they did in fact. So at least they've got that. But they are a fair ways back, but, anything can happen. That's why we race, right?
Absolutely. So it doesn't look like he sustained too much damage, especially, like we said, with that steering. If the steering was, maybe turned all the way to one side whilst going straight, then that would have been... 3.5 minutes, but looks like just maybe some slight moderate damage for Geiger, and he's back out on track. So being a lap down, this is gonna maybe be the run of a lifetime for Geiger in the Honda at Laguna Seca, lap down, and he is the only one that has pitted through unfortunate circumstance. So maybe this is some super galaxy brain strat that we're not aware of quite yet.
Well, if an accident is part of your strat and it works, that is galaxy brained for sure. But they do certainly have a large section of track to themselves, so we'll see how that goes. I'm watching the gap at the front. Oh, they are closing down. The gap from Gulzar back is now down to 3.5 seconds. So maybe somebody can get up there and put a little pressure on them.
Possibly Gulzar in that BMW, Makuta Patier in the Honda. So, you know, the I don't want to say the overpowered car, but the very powerful car for Laguna Seca in the hands of a very skilled driver. We could see this change in due time, but right now, Brian Rasco kind of just stuck between a little bit of a German feast of Davis and Keogh. But for right now, he's doing pretty well. The Bentley, you know, not one of the faster cars, but certainly the safest, as Keogh almost running a little too wide out there.
That's definitely our best battle pack at the moment. We've got 3 of them there within a second or so.
Yeah, just about from Davis down to Keogh is roughly a second, and the gap to Davis is building, but unfortunately that means the gap to Keogh is closing. So, you know, Rasco must be rifling through strategies in his head. Does he, you know, maybe go for an undercut to try and gain time later? Does he just try to bang out as many laps as he can? The last lap for Rasco was a 24.1 and Keogh's was a 23.8. So as they cross the line, we'll see just how much of a difference their laps are. So Rasco, a 23.905. Keogh, a 23.842. So Rasco doing what he can to keep the Audi behind.
That's when you think you're faster than the person in front of you, that's when your brain starts screaming undercut, doesn't it? And just to add to that, we are down to less than 3 seconds in, I believe, less than a lap. This gap at the front is closing quick.
Yeah, Gulzar's last lap was a 22.9. Makuta Patier's is a 22.5 or 22.4. So half a second, we could potentially see within a few laps something just culminating. Right now, though, Rasco starting to feel the pressure, and there is Ben Keogh going for a little Audi excursion after the kink.
Oh, this track will punish you if you're brave in the wrong places.
Absolutely. In my time, I found that the kink is one of the most likely places that will be feasting upon the tears of drivers regardless of skill, and if it's not there, it's probably going to be, you know, as you said, the Andretti hairpin or the corkscrew.
Yeah, the famous ones, the Andretti hairpin and the corkscrew. It's just that almost every other corner on this track can sneak up and be a really bad experience on you. Whether you're trying to pass somebody and you suddenly understeer into them or the other way around, it can get messy in a hurry.
Absolutely, especially depending on the car you're driving. You know, these GT3 cars, I mean, this is, you know, about as top of the line as we're going to get for this game. But even the GT4s, I find, have a little bit of trouble in some of these corners just because of the different levels of, you know, the onboard systems.
Absolutely, but the one thing I love about Laguna is you can race anything here. Like you said, these GT3s, top of the line cars, the most powerful cars in this game, I think is fair to say. The GT4s are fun here. The M2 is a blast racing around here. Just everything from the slowest car, even in other sims that have other cars as options, from the slowest car to the fastest one. This track is just, you're always on the edge. It's always fun. It's always fast.
100% agree with that. Especially, I know that the corkscrew, you know, I respect her. I understand her powers. But, you know, even with as comfortable as I am with this track, I still find myself getting very nervous going down it. Because you watch it on TV or you watch it in a stream like this and you go, oh, that doesn't look too bad. I can do that. And then you hop in, you know, get behind your wheel and you get to it and you go, oh, no, this is not, no, this is kind of scary. I'm scared. Mom, pick me up. I'm scared.
Exactly. That immersion kicks in and you come over the top of the corkscrew and go, that's a long way down and you want me to hit the throttle.
See, my brain says hitting throttle means flight. Humans
Yes.
is not like that. That's bad. Don't do it.
We're going to land in turn 11, but it turns out you don't, and it's great fun when you get it right.
I mean, you can land at turn 11. I've done it in practice. I'm like, okay, what would happen? Like, what if, right? You know when you go out to, like, the store or something, and you see like a bunch of bubble wrap, and you're like, I'm not going to touch it, and the intrusive thoughts are like, hey, you should pop that, and then you let the intrusive thoughts win. That's kind of what I did.
Usually when I'm driving and I let the intrusive thoughts in, I wreck somebody, so I try and keep those off the co-pilot's list.
Right, that's why I do it when it's in like free practice and there's no one around. It's like, perfect, I'm going to take flight here really quick. Oh god, I did that in iRacing, and someone's like, why did you do that? And I'm like, I had to see what would happen. They're like, you know what happens? Like, oh yeah, I wanted to do it. Cross it off the bucket list. Do it in a sim, that way you don't break anything.
Exactly, you don't have to pay for several multi-million-dollar vehicles. Our gap at the front is under 2 seconds. That's almost rear view cam, depending on where your settings are at, but that's getting close enough to make you look.
Absolutely. So Nunez having to deal with the Bentley of Brook. It looks like he got around him at some point. The little scoring column there finally updating. Seca into the pit, so maybe looking for a bit of a undercut of all undercuts. We're hopping back up to Gulzar, and it looks like, yeah, out the rear view, as you said, depending on where you are, you can just see Makuta Patie reeling them in.
I don't care how long you've been doing this, watching that car get bigger and bigger is never easy.
No, especially when you're at a track where said car excels at, and in the hands of an incredibly skillful driver, you can only do so much.
Well, especially these guys, because they've been racing all season. So this is their 7th race, I believe it is. So they know each other. They know that they're not going to make mistakes. It's not going to be something silly that decides this. It's going to come down to who does this last 40 minutes better. And, you know, they might not be that close in the overall points, but this race is shaping up.
Absolutely. A lot of these names here in Red Split, you know, the ones that are here and even the ones that are unfortunately not, a lot of returning faces for North America's sprint, a lot of new faces. So like you said, you know, these guys know each other, and the only ones they really have, you know, less knowledge of are some of the newer guys. But, you know, as you said, they've done, you know, as a lot of these races together, they've understood each other. They know how each other, you know, drive these cars. And unfortunately, Gulzar has given us a bit of a front row seat to how that all plays out.
It's starting to look like maybe he was waiting until that gap closed a bit. It looks like it's stabilized a little bit, although just as I say that, another 3/10 gets closed, so apparently not.
No, it's unfortunate. We look back, Nunez still having to deal with Tim Brook as he goes a little bit over that sausage curb, almost losing his car, but keeps it together. So that'll give Brook a chance to catch up. That gap closing down to just about 2/10 or so. Out of the corner they go. I don't think either driver got the better of each other on exit as they go through the kink a little bit wider for Nunez, and Brook looking for a bit of a move. We may see a door-to-door into the corkscrew. We saw it a few times in Blue Split. We're going to see the Bentley getting sent down the inside, and what a dive from Brook to overtake Nunez into P6. That was some ultimate bravery.
Wow, I'm glad you talked your way through that one, because there's no way I was speaking. I was cringing in my seat waiting for the crash. But again, the talent showed through, and these guys made it look, if not easy, at least possible.
Absolutely, and it's Brook who got a little bit loose in the penultimate corner, and Nunez now catching back up, so these two are not done with each other as they go down into the Andretti hairpin. Porsche on the inside, Bentley on the outside. And it looks like Nunez might just keep it stapled there on the apex, and he is going to regain that position, but I don't think these guys are going to be anywhere close to being done.
We still got almost 40 minutes to go. It's getting early for it to be getting personal. On the other hand, it makes for some amazing racing, so as long as this stays clean, go, go, go.
Ooh, but Brook is getting a little bit wide, so back up front, the gap is now down according to Broadcast Controller. It's 1.2, just about 1.3. The game disagrees. It's 1 second. Gulzar has been looking at the Honda, and like you said, it's getting bigger and bigger lap after lap. He's got to be getting nervous.
The other thing with this track that we were talking about it earlier, oh, there was a slide there, but a great recovery. But the other thing about this track is it's relatively short. So it's one of those tracks where you look up and you go, we've only done 15 laps. We're going to do 40, 42, somewhere in that region. And you have to sort of take a breath and regroup because you think you're further in than you are. At least I did.
Oh no, I'm right there with you. I don't pay attention to how many laps. I just look at the end of the race and I go, oh, that's how many we did? Wow, that's a lot. Like with your race, I saw 40, 41 or whatever it was, and I go, huh, okay, apparently that's how many laps you can fit in an hour. I didn't know that.
When they're only 84 seconds each, you can get a lot of them done.
That is very, very true, and I absolutely agree with that. And another person I have to agree with is the OOR account. Kevin, you are definitely a natural here on the comms.
It's not like I don't get 6 hours a week practice doing basically the same thing, but with a different subject matter.
Exactly. Oh, so there's... Okay, so Makuta Patier is into the pit, so is this the undercut?
They were right at that 1 second gap when they started, so it would be the perfect opportunity. We'll see if it works.
Keep it
Meanwhile,
in mind.
we still got this 6th and 7th battle. It's cooled off a little bit, but 5th, 6th, 7th is still in sight of each other.
Yeah, Keo just getting a little bit wide. Almost lost the Audi, but kept it pointed in the right direction. So these guys will get promoted up a position, but when they take their pit stops, they will be pushed back down into their respective positions. But yeah, this little battle here up front is definitely heating up, and you'll love to see it.
And as we get closer and closer to everybody having pitted, we'll see how well Geiger has managed to drive out of the unfortunate incident that happened earlier on.
Yes, we'll see as Rasco almost getting collected, or almost collecting Keo there. Thankfully, it looks like just a little bit of a side slap for his car, as the back marker of Seca there tried to get a move around or down the inside, but didn't quite work. So Brian Rasco, a little bit of damage. It's going to be interesting to see if he pits. If it's nothing too crazy, then he may just, say, you know what, boys, leave it. Just get the tires on, get some gas in this thing, and let me go.
Those pit stop decisions are always essential. Sometimes they're really obvious, but in a race this long, with a pit window this long, the undercut can work, the overcut can work. If you harden your tires to 50-50 can work. Everything's possible. But as usual, we see the ones at the front running it out a little longer.
Absolutely, and it's gonna, like you said, it's probably gonna come down to all the pit stops. So, speaking of pit stops, Gulzar hopping into the pits. So, we are gonna ride on board with the Honda of Makuta Patier, going through the corkscrew right now. Hamza Gulzar in his pit. So, I think Makuta Patier may have timed this to perfection.
At the very least, they'll have that 1 lap warmer tires, which I know there's tire warmers in this series, but boy, oh boy, sometimes it takes 1.5, 2 laps of these short tracks to get them up to speed. So if you're halfway there, that's got to be an advantage. But we're about to find out.
Yeah, I don't know. We see Gulzar hopping out of the pits here, and the Honda of Makuta Patier is nowhere to be found. He's just going through turn 1 now.
He's just getting to the Andretti hairpin now. Wow, that was another one of those Gulzar moments.
I got a DM from Gulzar one time, or I don't think it was DM. I think it was in just one of the chat rooms here in the Discord, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm married, but like if you offered, I would take it in a heartbeat because of all like the great things you say about me." And I'm like, "Hey, you're a great racer. It's no secret." And I think that, we should highlight that kind of stuff. And, he's definitely showing it now. Makuta Patier tried an undercut, but Gulzar just wasn't feeling it.
No, just not taking that. I have had the pleasure of racing Gulzar in another channel where we had an open chat during the race. So I actually got to know them a little bit, and they're a wonderful person as well as being a great driver. So in a community that in some places, let's face it, is a little toxic. It's really nice to be here at Octane Online, where it is supportive and inclusive, and everybody gets to race, whether you're as fast as Gulzar or as slow as me.
Yeah, we don't care who you are, as long as you race well and you race clean, we'll let you in. as we see Rasco getting into the pits. But yeah, that's one thing I just love about this community is, you know, I know sometimes sim racing gets a bit of a bad rep because you have the people who have like $10,000 rigs, and if you don't race in cockpit cam, you're not an actual sim racer. But we don't care here. You can, if you want to race with chase cam, as much of a sin as I think that is, go for it, man. I'm not going to stop you.
As long as you're having fun and not wrecking people. That was my only 2 goals anytime I go out on track, and 99% of the time I accomplish both of them.
That's very good. I respect that. And now, if you're looking to wreck and race, hey, Wreckfest goes on sale like all the time, so why not? But,
we've got a bit of a sort of race within a race at the front of the 2 that haven't stopped yet. They're just over 2 seconds apart, and I can't help but thinking they're playing a bit of chicken, even though they're in different classes, technically.
Well, classes don't matter here in the OOR. As long as you're faster than the guy behind, who really cares? You want to get as good of a result as you can. Yeah, Davis trying to keep Keo. I know when I was racing in the OOR, whether it was in rookies or in sprint, you know, if I'm keeping with the guy in front, if he goes into the pits and I'm feeling, you know, good, and maybe I'm closing the gap up a little bit each lap, I might go and, you know, I might stay out. But sometimes if I'm staying with him exactly, I might just pit with him and just make his life even more difficult.
Absolutely. Or that option, just stay behind them and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and hope they make that mistake, and then you've got that chance to beat them into and out of the pits. But despite what some people think, racing is a thinking person's game.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Even something like, you know, getting a run on some, you know, another driver, and then maybe just showing yourself on the inside, say, hey, I'm right here. If you make a mistake, that's it. And we saw it in the last race. We've seen it in races, not just past like this season, but even in seasons prior, where someone will just show their face down the inside, and that's enough to throw the other driver off, and they can get an easy position.
Absolutely. If you can get them to take the defensive line in, that compromises their exit. You've got the over-under opens up all kinds of options. But yeah, it's somebody far more famous than me said it's like playing chess at 200 miles an hour. And although these cars don't quite hit those speeds, if you replace that with kilometers an hour, I guess we're good to go.
When you were talking, when you said the quote, my immediate one was, if you no longer go for a gap. And I was like, nope, that's not the one he's talking about. We're talking about a different quote. I have read that quote that you talked about. I can't remember who said it either.
One of the challenging ones for me is when someone's gone off in front of you, come back on, you're quicker than them, but you'd have to make a dive to beat them into the corner, and it is so hard to let off and stay behind them because you feel like you made a mistake, I should get in front of you, or at least I do. Yeah, I managed to quell that several times this evening.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, you know what? If it's my time, it's my time. And speaking of time, it's time for Davis to head into the pits. We saw Rasco picking up a stop-go for pit lane speeding, so that's going to get pushed over to a 10-second penalty that'll get added on. So it looks like Davis possibly going for the undercut, giving Keo a chance to maybe come in this lap. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's Keo, Nunez, and Dale have yet to pit. Obviously, Davis doing his stop right now. Makuta Patier with the fastest time, which is a 22:09. And then Gulzar rocking a 22:467. At the moment, Gulzar's last lap was a 22:842. Makuta Patier's was a 23:4. So I'm wondering if Makuta Patier may have run into a bit of traffic, or if it was just something else.
Actually, they were behind Nunez, and Nunez has just peeled off to the pits, I believe, releasing them, but that gap is up to 6 seconds at the front now.
Yeah, it has gone down. Or, yeah, it's gone up, sorry. But we saw what, we saw what the Honda can do here, so maybe it's just a case of letting all these other drivers just get out of your way, getting some clean air, and try and close that gap up. Ben Keo now going into the pits, so we're gonna see if Davis is it might be a little too far. I don't know if he's gonna be back in time for Keo to be out of the pits for the undercut. So it looks like Keo has played this perfectly.
So we had the undercut work kind of, and the overcut work definitely all in one race.
Now we just need a 50-50, but I don't think that's going to work because it's only Dale who has yet to pit. And Dale actually getting ready to go around the penultimate corner right here, right now. So we'll see if he peels off into the pits. Yes, he does. So the entire field has gone ahead and has gotten their pit stops out of the way. So now it's just banging out these laps and seeing if you can overtake anybody at the end.
Yeah, it's going to make our job quite a bit easier, but I am a bit surprised to see them all done by 28 minutes to go. We're just past the halfway, and I'm used to somebody trying to push it to right near the end, but like I said, it makes our job easier from this point.
If I weren't in the booth and I were in this race, I would be that guy who's like, I'm going to stay out as long as I can just this once and see what happens, and it's probably not going to work, but it's going to be neat.
It's one of those tactics that if you don't have to stop for tires, if it's fuel only, but you must stop for fuel, you do the 1 liter stop with 1 lap to go.
You get into the pits right before the pit window closes, and you're like, see, but I did my pit stop, so you can't penalize me.
Exactly. The ultimate overcut. But it's closing again. It was over 6. We're down to 5.8. We got lots of time left to go.
Absolutely. We saw the gap, you said taking like 2/10 off, 3/10 off a lap. And, within, I forget how many laps it was, but we saw the Honda within a second of the BMW. So perhaps we see something similar. Current gap about 5.7. So we'll see what this fresher set of tires can do.
Not just fresher, but I've got the feeling possibly one of the reasons that they're catching up is maybe their car's a little easier, or their setup is a little easier on their tires, and perhaps Gulzar's burning theirs off a little bit.
That's also something to think about. Yeah, and even fuel loads. Some people don't really think about it. They just go, oh, it's gasoline, whatever. But the weight of the fuel in your car can actually have a very different effect on your lap times, just depending on how much you have left.
Absolutely. I think it's 0.8 kilos per liter approximately for race fuel. So if you've got 10 liters too much, that's 8 kilos too much in your car. However, 8 kilos too much arguably is better than 2 liters too little.
That I would 100% agree with. I would rather finish a race with at least enough to get around the circuit and not, none. I've had races in the past, both in the OOR racing and broadcasting and just in open lobbies, where somebody doesn't put enough fuel in their car and they stop rather close to the finish line. So, it's a coin flip. Is someone going to be nice and push them across, or are they just going to let them sit there and burn?
I'm going to go tisk, tisk, tisk. You should have done your math better as I drive by. But we are down to almost 5 seconds. It's closing fast enough. If that was me in front, I'd be watching that timing standard on the left-hand side by now. I'm sure they're more professional than I am, but it would be getting to me by now.
Absolutely. I've had the same experiences in my races. I just find I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just put my head down, get these laps out. If they happen to catch up, I'm just going to make it as difficult as I can for them to get around. And if they get around, hey, so be it.
I've been tempted to turn that information off a couple times, but I know if it's not there, it's even worse.
No, that's 100% true, because then you look at the lap time as well. You say, okay, I did, this lap time, what did they do? And you look at theirs and go, oh, that's, X amount of time faster. Oh, that's slower. That's good, So if you have it off, you kind of just get into this weird, rhythm, but it's not a rhythm you really want to be in, because you're going to just lose track of everything.
Yeah, you can't tell when you're going fast, or at least I can't tell when I'm going fast or slow. We were talking about Geiger earlier. They are coming back to some extent. They're up to 8th now, and I think the gap, they're within 10 or 12 seconds, so they could be back into this fairly shortly.
Absolutely. That little incident earlier on in the race, thankfully just enough damage to not make the pit stop too long. And Geiger being a lap down has already gotten himself back onto the lead lap, so close enough to the lead lap. Obviously with Gulzar and Makutapati, they're kind of just doing their own thing right now. But yeah, it's been an excellent recovery drive for the number 46. So with Nunez getting ready to be in his sights. We'll have to see if maybe this is another position.
It's getting close enough that you're having that moment in the car where you're going, okay, it was worth it. It was worth continuing on. It was making these repairs and getting back out here. Sometimes you see people sort of, yeah, it's too much, and they quit. And I get it. If you got 3 minutes of damage and there's only 5 minutes left in the race, for sure. But I also really, really appreciate it when people drive that car back around to the pits, get those repairs done, pull back out, and drive around like a professional race car driver and finish that race. Get that experience, get those laps. There's nothing can replace that, whether you're first or last.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with that, because you can take that and say, well, even if it's not a lot of damage, just a little damage, you can learn how to drive with it, and that can actually help you later on should you find yourself in the same situation.
Oh yeah, the first time you're the lapper instead of the lappee is a pretty good feeling.
Absolutely, and getting lapped, definitely a humbling experience. Speaking of lapping here, you saw Makuta Patier just brush around Geiger, and that kind of messed with Geiger's lap. He lost probably a good chunk of time. Nunez's last lap was a 24.1. Geiger's was a 25.6. Compared that to the last lap where Geiger's was about 7/10, almost 8/10 faster than Nunez. So with this front runner around him, I think both Makuta Patier and Geiger are going to just get the throttle down and try to catch up to those that they need to get around.
That absolutely seems to be the case. It's looking, it's not, there's big gaps everywhere, but there's no huge gaps. Nothing is written in stone yet. We've got 3 and 4 second gaps all over the place.
Absolutely. So with just the pace of these drivers, we'll see if by the end of the race there's any moves done. Currently 21 or so minutes, left on the clock, and with just how fast these drivers are lapping the circuit, we could see some changes. Makuta Patier's last lap was a 22.8. Gulzar's was a 23.0, and I'm actually am being informed via the broadcast controller that I'm wrong. Gulzar's was a 23.055. That stayed. Makuta Patier's last lap is a 22.382. So that's a bit of an issue for Gulzar. Yeah, that's 7/10, almost, I think, a little bit less than 3/4. So Gulzar is probably watching that timer and thinking, oh boy, is there enough time in the race for me to keep this lead, or am I going to get lapped here?
Oh, and to make matters even more complicated, Gulzar is now closing on lap traffic themselves, just coming out of the corkscrew and down the hill, so looking forward and back as the leader. That's got to bring out the sweat.
Absolutely. His thumb is probably hovering over the headlight flasher just to try to get these guys out of the way as soon as humanly possible. Because the longer you stick behind lap traffic, the more time you're going to have the person you're running from gain.
Oh, you get that back bumper fixation where you just start driving the same speed as the car ahead of you, waiting for them to make a mistake, and you can lose a ton of time. Although I must say, at Octane Online, I like the more assertive blue flags here. You get a blue flag, get out of the way. As somebody who got a number of them, I still appreciate that. I get it. Get out of the way and let the fast guys go. It's one of the skills that you have to learn as a racer.
Absolutely. I know in online lobbies, just open lobbies, it's kind of, in my experience, I think it's more so people do respect the blue flag rule and they do let these faster drivers through, although there will be times where you have some drivers, typically newer guys, who don't really understand that sort of unwritten rule, but usually they'll learn eventually. Hopefully someone tells them and doesn't move them forcefully out of the way.
Absolutely. That one, and the person who's just on tilt angry because of something that happened that you probably had nothing to do with, and you're sort of there and you take the brunt of it. And it happens. Hopefully it happens less in these lobbies than in the pub lobbies, but people get upset, and that's part of the game, and it's not overreacting. That's what separates the good response from the bad ones.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I know here in the OOR we have a very strict conduct policy. When it comes to in what I've experienced, is when there is an incident during a race and you do call out your number, you call out the number and you move on. You just get on with it. You don't dwell on it. You don't flame the other guy. Just get the call out there, let the stewards handle it, and figure the rest out yourself.
Absolutely. You can even hear that in their voices when they're calling out the numbers. Most people don't sound angry. It's just, you say your number and keep driving because the race isn't over yet. Speaking of not over yet, 3.4 or less is that gap at the front, and Gulzar is in the midst of lap traffic.
Yes, he is. I believe that was Nunez just getting out of his way, trying to find the best spot, and he did before the King, so definitely the place you want to be. But now Gulzar has to get around the fellow BMW driver of, I believe that's Seca, who, well, sort of does his own thing and takes off to the gravel, and I believe that'll give Nunez the spot. Yes, it does.
We were talking about the blue flags. There's doing it well. There's getting out of the way a little too much. I did that myself a couple times. Eating a little dirt is still better than wrecking somebody, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and I just realized the Honda we saw in the background is actually Makuta Patier, so this gap coming down, Makuta Patier, he's wasted no time getting around Seca, so now he's got to get around Nunez, and then the only other driver is Gulzar, and that gap is about 1.5 seconds.
And we are heading into an area of the track. If they're quick, they could get by that lap traffic with a little help before we get up the hill.
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be risky. I think Makuta Patier may just have to sit here and wait, but there's the blue flag being shown to Nunez. So does Nunez pull off to the side, or does he just keep it planted where it is? Through the kink they go. And we can just see Nunez, pulling off to the side, slowing down just a bit, and now Gulzar's worst fears have been realized, and we've still got 16.5 to go.
Oh, 2+ seconds is all. That's back in the mirrors. This is getting sweaty for the second time in one race time.
Absolutely. Gulzar's last lap was a 23.5. Makuta Patier's 22.5, so a little bit less than a second when you get to the 100th position. So we'll see what the laps look like as they come through. Gulzar 23.18, Makuta Patier a 22.89. So Gulzar spent more time behind lap traffic than his competitor, and that hurt him more, on top of the fact that this Honda is just insanely quick around the circuit.
And seems to be better on the long runs, and there's no one in front of them now. It's down to the two of them to find 15.5 minutes to find out which one of them can keep it together longer and faster.
Of course, Gulzar gonna be just seeing and praying that Honda does not get bigger and bigger with each lap, and if it does, it gets bigger at such a slow rate that he gets to sit here for the remainder of this race. But as we close in on the final 15, it is going to be quite the challenge for the Canadian to pull out this gap to the American behind.
I had kind of forgotten he was Canadian, but now you made this all nationalistic, and now I'm not supposed to. I'm an announcer. I'm not supposed to have a favorite, but when they're in first place and they've been there since the start, it's hard not to.
No, I had the same thing happen. We had one viewer ask, state of origin, Canada versus U.S., and I'm like, well, I'm from the U.S. Now I have to be impartial. However, given the circumstance, might root for my fellow countrymen, but we'll have to see. Anything can happen. I know we saw Makuta Patier earlier have a bit of a slip it, I think right about the same corner here, so that gave Gulzar a bit of breathing room, but well, I think the number 39 may have learned from his mistakes as he continues to just chip away at this lead.
Those two cars at the front are still looking really planted. It doesn't look like anybody's running their equipment to the edge yet. So everybody's sort of within one spin of each other, as I like to think about it.
have to take a look around. Kind of a bit of just sort of hot lapping. The closest thing really is Seca and Geiger. Geiger's actually done a very good job catching up to this BMW. So this is a mirror of 1 and 2, but just a little further down.
Absolutely, and as you said, Geiger is closing this gap. They have absolutely got their head down, and they are going forward. There's another position to be had if they stay in and keep closing at this rate.
Absolutely, 100%, and we can see just how well Geiger is running this this little BMW. Is a bit later on the brakes, so catching up a little bit as they go down the front straight to start lap number 32 for them. Unfortunately, a bit of a lap down just because of how just destructive and in charge Golzar and Makutapadier have been. So these guys down a lap, but still on the same lap as one another.
And I mean, yeah, racing is racing. You're still, when you can see that car, you can see it, and it's a race for position. The heart rate goes up, the joy button gets hit, and it's just, oh, it's so much fun, whether you got 12 minutes left in the race or you're just starting at the starting grid.
Absolutely. And it kind of makes me wonder if these two drivers in 1 and 2 were in blue split, how much different would it be? But right now, we got to look a little bit careful here, as it's going to be Geiger pulling to the inside. Through the kink they go, and that's just going to shove Seca out wide, who does lose it, but thankfully keeping it off the wall, and we return our attention back to the front.
It is closing down. 1.2 seconds about is the gap. That is getting into that's getting into draft range, as much as you get draft at Laguna, but it's getting there.
A draft is a draft, and hopefully it's not the final draft, but at some point it will be. Just under 12 to go here. It has been quite the little battles we've had across the way. Honda and BMW really just giving us a show here for North American Red Split. This is something I think we're going to be sticking on for the rest of the race.
This is it's come down to this. After 50 minutes, all but 50 minutes, we have come down to less than a second between the top two. They've got enough of a gap behind them. They don't have to worry about it. This is like match play. It's one or the other from this point in, unless somebody makes a big mistake.
Well, with the caliber that these drivers are, I highly, highly doubt we'll be seeing any of those big mistakes. You can just see how much these two are pushing it through the kink, using as much of the runoff as they can down into the hairpin. They know where the borders are. They know where the track limits are. They're doing everything they can, trying to just gain time on one another.
Oh, just running in each other's tire tracks. This is fun to watch. Talent at this level, at anything. Anybody that's any good at that, this good at something, is fun to watch. But when it's something that you like to do, it's even more impressive.
100% agree with that. It looked like the number 39 may have gone a little bit too deep on the brakes. Although the gap now, as far as the broadcast controller is concerned, has maxed out at 9/10. The lap prior was maxing out at a full second. So we could be seeing a lead change here in a few laps, unless Golzar puts up some just all-star defense.
Well, going fast is one thing, staying in front is another thing, and I guess that's the counter to catching them is one thing and passing them is another. So we're going to see how good both of these are at that. We know Golzar's got a ton of experience running around at the front, what I don't know is how much time they've had to spend defending against someone who's pushing them this hard this season.
I do not know, but we have had, if anyone's got a stopwatch, I'm sure they've been keeping track. It has been probably the better part of at least, I'd say 20 minutes, give or take, if I had to put an estimate on it.
Oh, it's been a great race, and it's car lengths now. We don't need to be looking at timing and scoring anymore. It's one car length between the bumpers on these two.
Yep, just about 3/10. So if Makutapadier is not getting the slipstream before, he's definitely going to be getting it now. As he's pulling a little bit closer, you can just see how much of the car is starting to poke under the rear wing. He is using that slipstream. He is using every single equine under the engine to try and just catch up to the number 14 with a little under 9 to go here. This is looking very dangerous.
This is looking spicy. We're starting to see Gulzar move to a slightly more defensive line. It's only half a tire width so far, but it shows that he knows he's being chased down, and it also shows to me that he knows that the person that's chasing him down is faster. He lets him go. I don't think he can catch him.
Yeah, he's going to be doing everything he can. The last lap times were 3/10 between them. So this is definitely going to be the time where Gulzar battens down every single hatch, all hands on deck, try to keep the Honda behind. It's 8 minutes. It must feel like 8 years for him.
Well, again, with this short track, 8 minutes is, I think, 5 laps. So that's an eternity when somebody's this close.
100% agree with you, especially when, you know, like you said earlier, you know, you feel like you've banged out, not, you know, oh, you're only, you know, you've done 15 laps, but it's only been, you know, 10 minutes. Like, what is this?
This end of the race, too, you look up and you go, oh, 10 minutes left, and you do the math in your head and go, oh my God, that's 7 laps.
Yeah, and then because, you know, before that, you were just in, you know, in that rhythm, just almost on autopilot. I find that when you look at how much time is left or how many laps are left, you just start counting them, and that slows you down because you're not focusing as much on the race.
Yeah, you break that immersion and you break that focus. It's kind of weird. To me, it's a focus without focusing. I'm at my best when I'm paying attention, but not really concentrating. It's a hard state to get to, and it's really easy to knock yourself out of.
Absolutely. Gulzar almost knocking himself out of P1. He ran a little bit wide there at the kink, and you saw Makuta Patier try to go for a move down the inside, but Gulzar just defending it off. So it looks like the pressure starting to get to number 14 as we still have 4 or so laps to go here. This has been a battle that has been brewing lap after lap after lap. The gap closing down, 2/10 here, 3/10 there, a little bit of slipstream here, a little bit of traffic over yonder. But now it looks like we may be seeing the final moments of this battle. If the move doesn't come in on this lap or the next, we may see this go all the way to the end.
And you're at that point now where this is it. You're waiting for that big move. Everything has come down to this, 54 minutes. And it's come down to less of a gap than there was between them when we dropped the green flag. This is racing.
Absolutely, just beautiful, insane stuff. This is the one thing I love about motorsport, is even when you think you've gotten the victory and you're so far ahead that you think nobody can catch you, there's still all this time in the world. And it's Gulzar, a driver who is not one of those people that calls it a win until the checkered flag, but he definitely wishes it was the checkered flag. But for right now, he's doing everything he can, and he is keeping Makuta Patier at bay.
Oh, that getting past with a lap or two to go at the end of the race is bad, but throwing away the race with a lap or two to go is something that will stay with you for weeks. So I'm sure that's playing on his mind at this moment. I got to stay ahead, but I can't screw this up.
Of course, but maybe he's also thinking, well, you know, maybe I can force Makuta Patier to make, you know, maybe some desperate lunge, and that could throw everything else out of whack and gain all that time back. So this is a bit of a mental mind game for both of them. You know, Gulzar's thinking, okay, maybe I get number 39 to make a big mistake like that, but 39's going, hey, I know that 14's trying to make me do this thing, and I'm not going to let him do that.
He's going to make the dive here. Oh, he didn't. Now what? Yeah, it's your brain is it can be your best friend at this point, but it can also very much be your worst enemy.
If it's your worst enemy, it's not the enemy you want at 130 miles an hour. As this is getting to me. I'm getting stressed.
This has woken me right back up. These two are, it's like watching two apex predators fighting over a bone. This is getting personal, I think, after 56 minutes. Oh, here we oh.
There was a run. If there was more road, maybe we could have seen door to door down the corkscrew. We saw it a couple of times in blue split, but I think we're just gonna see, you know, wait for an easier overtake, because overtaking into the corkscrew is probably the closest thing you're gonna get to dying.
Yeah, we're getting close to desperation time, but desperation time only works if you don't give all the way in and wreck. So looks to me like we got 2 laps left to decide this, and every second of this is going to be exciting as they head down into the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, I think we may actually have 3 more laps. I think, yeah, because it's about 124. So, ooh, no. We have 1, 2, so no. I think not this lap, but the lap after, I believe, will be final. So if that's the case, we're 40 laps in. Gulzar may be able to walk away with this. But we don't know. We gotta see. There's still 3 minutes to go, and it looked like there was a bit of a late break there from the Honda. Gulzar having to just pray, and you can see that's not even a third of a car length. That's maybe a quarter or so.
There's a very different line being taken through sort of line 5, corners 5 and 6, and also through the corkscrew as well. It's like I said, this is where that hours and hours and days of practice comes in, where you practice the lines you have to take to pass somebody, and you practice the lines that you have to take to defend. And it's just like pit in and pit out. It's the little things, but it means that you win these races that are 0.2 of a second apart.
Absolutely. I think one of the places that Gulzar's gaining at least, you know, thousands is on the exit of some of these corners. You could see it out of the final turn, just maybe using that BMW power to try and open up a gap. But this Honda is not giving up just yet. We're gonna have 1 more lap after this, and that will be it. So either the move comes in soon or the move doesn't come in at all.
Laguna is one of those tracks where you first look at it, you go, there's no place to pass, but you get out there for a while and there really is, but it takes a little bit of help. Somebody has to miss an apex by a meter and you've got a shot. With 1 lap to go after this one, who's going to miss by a meter?
I don't know. Might be a meter, might be a minute. Gulzar, though, a gap has opened up just about 0.8. So as we head down the corkscrew, it's Gulzar versus Makuta Patier, the final lap. We have been watching this battle for an amount of time that I have been unable to keep track of, because it felt like it's been every single day that we've seen this. As they come around the last corner, they are going to go on to the final lap. It is do or die here at Laguna Seca. Car 14, car 39. There can only be one.
There's 1 lap left and there is no one on the track in front of them. This is it. This is 1 versus 1 with 1 race left in the season after today.
And when people say that, oh, it's just a game, who cares? Right, it's just a game. We're driving our fake cars with our fake steering wheels and our fake pedals, but the battle and the emotions is what makes this so real to us. This is what we do day in and day out to try and be the best driver that we can be, and that is something that can never be taken away from us.
I couldn't have put that better. It's that joy of, you can call it a game or a sim or whatever you want, but that joy of getting better and better every day and knowing that there's always better that you can be. You see guys driving like this and you go, you know, maybe not, but I can get closer to that than I am now. Speaking of closer, you don't get much closer than this. A couple corners left. This is where we find out whether the front rear or the mid rear is going to be better through this, I think, final corner.
Yeah, this is it. Makuta Patier maybe going for a little bit of a switchback, but it's Gulzar. He's shutting the door. Lap after lap after lap after lap of pressure from the Honda. But today, it's going to be the BMW that stands atop the podium. Gulzar picking up another win. Makuta Patier having to settle for second. And now we have quite the gap down. But for as far as I'm concerned, Ben Keogh will be picking up a P3, and Steve Davis from the land down under picking up a 4th position. But what a race we've had.
And you can see at the end of the race the mutual respect. They pulled over right beside each other and went back to garage at basically the same time. You got to know there's some fist bumping going on in those rigs, first or second. They also have to know they just were in one of the best fights of this season.
Absolutely, 100%. Ben Keogh flashed the headlights. He's very happy with that result. You know, you look at that last dive, that last chance, and Golzar just pinned it to the corner. He was not going to give Makuta Patier a chance. He was like, listen, last lap, not happening, dude. I am defending this position with my life, and that's it. And, I mean, we were in for a treat. We didn't have as many racers as we normally have here for Red Split, but with what we had, you know, these drivers found a way to put on a show for us. But it has been quite an evening, red and blue, so we're going to take a peek real quick over at the final stats for the evening. So overall, it's going to be Golzar, Makuta Patier, Keogh, your 1, 2, 3, Pro-Am, Makuta Patier, Davis, and Nunez, and amateur, Secombe and Dale. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us this evening. Kevin, I got to say, you have done an incredible job here tonight. Is there anything you'd like to say before we head out?
There is, actually, and that's a huge thank you to yourself and everybody over at Octane for agreeing to let me try this. I've streamed a lot, but I've never done an announcing gig quite like this before, so this was an absolute blast, and I could not have asked for a better first race to commentate on than that. There was never a question of anything to commentate. Well, thanks for having me,
and I
look forward to next week.
Absolutely. We'll be back for the final round here of the North American Sprint Series. It'll be in Japan over at Suzuka, a super sprint to end it off. But ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, Kevin, and the entirety of the OOR, we want to thank you all so much for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.